We are live.
It happened.
Wow.
It finally happened after so much waiting. VCT Pacific didn't win a trophy till 2024. And one man, Chopra, rooting for a team for forever. And they made the finals. Their first event. They finally did it. RRQ, your Valorant Masters champions. Chopra, what does it mean?
Whoa.
Hold on.
Let's just be very clear. If they couldn't do it for, what is it, two and a half years, 3 years while I was supporting him, they could never. Come on. You get them out of here. They could never be at the top of the global power rankings. Get those silly letters out of here. It's just NNS all the way from here on out.
How elated are you, though? You've come home. You've had to come down.
Well, it's been a little bit surreal because we basically had to bolt to the airport right afterwards. Like, I see all these people crying about how, oh, it was one of the worst finals ever. It was so one-sided. And we're just sitting back there like, this is all working out perfectly. We can actually go back to our hotels, clean up, and then shower, and then go to the airport, and we won't miss our flights.
But Chopra, why was it that you were in such a rush to catch your flight? What time was your flight?
So our flight was scheduled at like 1 something a.m., right? So we realized this pretty late because, we might have had to leave before if we lost any of the earlier matches. And Coach Sungmin is trying to plan out, the days after the event, coming into the final weekend. And he goes, so I just realized their flight is at 1 a.m. after the tournament, which means if we do make the grand finals and it goes to Mat 5, we might not make it, right? Because if we have to do like interviews and whatnot. And so, I purposely didn't go into like the scrims and whatnot for the final weekend just because they got to lock in. But presumably, the coach just basically told them, like, you have to win map 1 and then lock in. But if you lose map 1, I mean, figure it out for yourselves. But do you want to go home or not?
Are you saying the travel schedule is what caused the map 2 and 3 rolls?
Yeah.
They just locked the
Well, it's like
freak.
It's like when you have to go to the bathroom, you just lock in, you just hold it.
It's the piss buff.
Yeah.
It's the piss buff. All the game sensors stored in the piss.
Exactly.
And so if you piss
true.
it out, and it's gone. That's crazy, though.
I
don't think. Listen, gameplay-wise, it was the worst finals, but also one of the sickest stories of all time. No?
Yes. It
Like
was the
a
worst
team
finals of all time, but
Dude,
it was one of the best stories
Hold
of
on,
all
let's
time.
look at the other finals.
We'll get to that.
No.
Surely there's
We'll
something
get to that.
worse.
No.
Let's introduce the show.
No.
Okay.
Plat Valorant, episode 256. I'm Mimi. We've got
Surely there's
TMV.
something
We've got
worse.
Bren. We've got Chopra. Chopra's already on about his team finally winning in Masters Santiago. TMV, I saw the clip of your reaction to the end of the final. And I saw just how much it meant to you to finally see Nongshim winning. Right? You were just elated for them and no other emotions.
Hold on. Because here's the thing. Was I happy for Nongshim? Of course. I like Nongshim. I like Chopra. I have
Why
nothing
does it
against
sound
them.
like you're
the thing
not,
is,
you're going to say something?
no, the thing
I
is,
play it?
I had already accepted they had won hours ago.
Well,
By that
Kurt, you
point.
have the clip, right?
Yeah,
Let's play the
for
clip.
some reason it's really low quality, but we'll probably get the audio here.
That's fine. Okay, here we go.
But not before also suffering heavy damage.
It's like
something now eliminated.
genuinely,
And it
it's
feels
like
like-
watching a different game.
This series, this final is coming to an end.
It's 12-3, by the way.
Takes out Defy. This is just Jing.
Yeah,
Now
your
for
team is
second.
fucking dog
Line
shit.
it up.
Knife him. Actually,
Hunted
knife him.
down and killed. 13
I mean,
to
that
3.
is the worst fucking
3-0.
grand final of all time.
Paper
True, waste of our lives.
Instinct. Fuck
Fuck that team. Not you, Nongshim. Nongshim, amazing. But Paper Rex, fucking hell. Right,
That's so
Paper Rex have been
that's so
relegated. Because this game is so bad, they need to win 2 trophies to overtake Fnatic, because that was so fucking shit. I mean, am I wrong?
Possible overreaction.
It was a terrible game! It was
Possible
a terrible
overreaction.
game!
It was cool to watch a team dominate. I think it. Listen, as much as the game, as much as it wasn't competitive between the two teams because Paper X forgot to wake up, like genuinely, the storylines carried that series for me. It was just cool to
Every final
see.
has had a good story. Every final has had a
Not
good story.
necessarily. There's been some boring
Name
ones.
a final with a bad story, Bren.
Dude, I mean, like.
Okay, the other 3-0s. The other 3-0s in history. Let's go to EG versus Fnatic. That was a 3-0. It was a quick one, but it had an excellent story. It was the beginning of this EG hero run. It was Fnatic completing the back-to-back, the first team to ever do it. Excellent story. To get another 3-0, you look all the way back to the beginning of VALORANT. 2021, Masters Berlin, Gambit versus Envy. I think you could argue maybe that was a weaker storyline. Yeah. I think maybe that had a little less going on, but it was still the second ever international event that the game ever hosted. It was Gambit, this team who clearly looked like the best team in the world, setting their sights on this huge accolade. And even though it was a 3-0, it was a very close game against Envy. Lots of player stories going back in time before that.
This final was in terms of rounds. This final is miles ahead of the others. Because all of the 3-0s that we've had have had at least one map go to OT. I've had every map has been somewhat close.
The first one almost went to OT.
Yeah,
of this series,
yes. But then two maps were complete stomps.
Yeah, they were. But I think that there's a certain level of excellency there. It was cool to watch Dambi take over. Yeah. It was cool to watch Nongshim sweep the fucking floor with them. A team that came up through Premier to Tier 2 Ascension to a Grand Finals. But
this is the thing, Brett. What you're not seeing is my reaction when that's happening on map 2 and the start of map 3. And I've accepted that this is happening at this point. When we got to 4-1 on Abyss, the game was over. The game was completely over. I've given all my praise to Nongshim during Split because I didn't expect them to dominate on Split. So by the end of map 3, I'm just like, well, what? Paper Rex, where are you? Turn up! Show up!
And they were gone. Paper Rex went out for milk after map 2, and
did they need a fast flight home as well, Chobra? Was everyone trying to catch this flight to go?
No, not everyone. I think some of them might have been on the same flight, but not everybody.
Devi was there. That was not on a flight that night. I don't think that team was. So that narrative at least is dead. But
okay. They both conspired. Whoever wins map 1, we've got to catch this flight.
Oh, another VCT Pacific conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I don't want people to take anything away from Nongshim.
No, but I don't think it does. I think we can say that they were one of the most impressive tournament runs ever of how dominant all their games were, and that they have one of the sickest stories. What'd you say?
They haven't lost an official in 5 months.
Yes. It's
unbelievable.
Oh, this is one of the most dominant runs of all time. This is what I said in my video. This is the second best run of all time in Valorant history.
Yes.
I have a very urgent question. It's slightly unrelated. Am I the only one that can't hear half of the words that Bren's saying?
He's pretty quiet.
Am I quiet
No.
again?
He's cutting out half the time.
I'm cutting out? Oh, what the hell?
Okay. I'll just figure it out. I'll just figure it out as we go. Because if all of you guys can hear it.
Dude, I've been saying I've been spitting fire too on this so far. This is crazy. You guys have been missing out. You guys have actually been missing out. It's crazy.
He's had the most impactful first 10 minutes of a podcast of maybe all time. A lot of people are saying this.
Many people are saying it.
But I also just want to add, because everyone's focusing on the neon, the dominance, the whole Premier to Ascension, which is also cool. But I think if you look deeper, it is actually a really great story because Dambi, Francis, and Ivy, it's not just Premier. They've been playing since 2022 in random tournaments.
Literally
in,
every game
Clash
they've
of
ever
Nations.
recorded at pretty much any level of competition they've done together for that core 3.
Yeah,
so when you really look into that of they've really been grinding as teens, this trio core, and somehow they were able to stay together despite Nongshim buying out SPG, all that. And then, they lift their first international tournament.
And they were
That's
literal
cool.
children when Paper Rex got to their first final in Copenhagen. And now they're beating one in here. The RB story is cool as well. We'll get into the details of talking more about the final, our thoughts on the game, on Nongshim's run and all of that towards the end of the episode. But for now, we have to do our member question. Of course, as a reminder, you can support the show and become a member. That will earn you exclusive benefits such as access to our members-only Discord, your funny little emojis in the chat here live. Our members, they also host tournaments and games. The last time they hosted a tournament didn't go super well for Team Plat Chat when we played against their best team
Who was
in the
fielded
finals.
on that roster?
It was a strong roster. It was
Who was on it? Hold on.
We couldn't have gotten anyone better for the roster.
Who was playing?
Me.
Yeah.
Josh,
Uh-huh.
Cool. That's tough.
Who was on the
That's
Dan?
tough.
You got Dan, the Reign of One Trick.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who else was on the team? Was Wyatt playing?
You don't even remember.
I've blocked it out of my memory.
Okay.
But if you want to have an opportunity to destroy our finest soldiers, then you should participate in the Plat Chat members tourney, which is live for signups now. All you have to do is become a member here on YouTube, join the Discord, and find some friends to create a team with. It was a fun time last time to watch all these teams progress. And hey, if you're good, you win. Maybe you can play against us again. We also have our member question every week from one of you in the Discord. And this week's member question is from Annie. They ask, with all the discussion around this double duelist no sentinel meta being bad and a lot of people finding it unfun to watch, what kind of comp archetype matchups, for example double controller into tripe senti like the famous meat dish, etc., have been the most entertaining to watch in your opinion? Most fun meta, guys. Chobra, I'll start with you. Is this meta the most fun for you?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I do enjoy watching the current meta, but
I do enjoy watching my team constantly.
well, it's not even just winning. I enjoy watching my team just absolutely pub stomp the best teams in the world. But aside from that, I mean, I think a lot of like anyone who's like analyzing the game, right? That's like going deeper into the strategy would agree that double initiator, when that was just kind of the mainstay, right? And you see teams just going back and forth on macro, pushing and pulling. The Ascent
What
days.
era
I love
of double
Ascent.
initiator
I
are you
miss
talking
Ascent.
about? Like the Teo Breach era?
No. I'm
the,
talking the
early
Sova
days, like people are playing like
fades. Yeah,
KO
I'm
Sova
talking like
kind of thing.
Yeah, KO Sova fade,
Okay.
like that type of thing. Yeah, no, not the Tejo Breach. I forgot that those are also initiators. Yeah,
They're
double
initiators,
recon.
open parentheses,
Double recon.
derogatory.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's last year's champs last year. Because that
When it was that wide open meta where everyone's
yeah, it was like
playing
post
different ideas.
Teo initiators were still strong, sentinels were still strong, and people were playing double duelists. They were playing solo waylay, double initiator, they were playing all sorts. But I mean, maybe with more time, it would have been it would have been made out to be a bad meta. But I think Riot kind of pulled the trigger a little bit too early from all of the community sentiment about the game being overwhelming with util, and now we're in this current state where it's like, well. Sure, yes, gunplay reigns supreme, it always has, but now it's like even more so. Like, of course you're going to get double duelists. They're the best at taking fights, they're the most self-sufficient. Like it,
And
yeah,
also they
anyway.
didn't nerf like the significant duelists and nerfed all the significant features of every other class.
Well, it's
so
like
even-
literally every
even
other
more
role
enhanced.
got a nerf except for duelists.
If we could go
Smoke
back-
timers are longer, initiator timers are longer, sentinels are useless, and then duelists are
Yeah.
just puttering along with the strongest util in the game.
Yeah. Yep. But
But-
champs last year.
Yeah,
That's
for
what I'm
me-
saying.
I
We're in a-
agree.
we're in a
I was
pretty
going to
good
say
place.
that same event was so fun to watch. Like we had like the early mosquito comp teams. We had NRG playing like the solo waylay double initiator stuff. We had teams who were still playing like just like double smokes control style, super slow on every map. It was the most wide open I think the game has ever been, and I think that's when it's fun. I don't think it's as fun when it is when everyone's playing the same thing. Double duelists, it has its highlights, but watching double duelists versus double duelists means that you don't get those kind of stylistic matchups, at least as often. Obviously, I think we'll talk about that later, got a little treated with the differences in style of our top four at this tournament. But I think it was the same with like Teo Breach. When the meta is pretty consistent across maps, I think it's a lot less exciting because you don't get those head-to-heads of different compositions and seeing their trade-offs and strengths and weaknesses. And for me, Champs era last year was one of the best patches for that kind of variety. But I also think just like a lot of the earlier days, Valorant, even when we were in some nasty metas, when we were in Astra Viper, when we were in Chamber meta, I thought there was enough like international variety in teams' takes on that we got really interesting stuff at international events. I think it's just kind of in the last 2 years where we've had such parity in style between regions.
I wonder if because like back before the international leagues, especially Pacific, felt like a separate thing. Right, like it felt like we had EMEA in Americas, but even they were fairly distinct. And I still say each region is somewhat distinct, but I think maybe we've kind of like, there's more awareness of like what's going on across the globe now. So maybe people are more aware, like, oh, this is working in Pacific, let's steal that. right? And we get more exposed to it. Whereas before, I feel like we were turning up to internationals and be like, oh, like Paper Rex are a great example, right? People would turn up to Masters Reykjavik or whatever. Paper Rex would turn up and they'd be like, what the hell is this? Because they weren't aware of it. Whereas now I feel like we're all so much more aware of, like, it's really only like if a China team was doing, you know, like DRG or for now instance, you know, playing Clove and Reina and stuff, like if they went to that international, people might be like, what is going on? But I feel like for the most part we're quite aware of, like, oh yeah, this is how, you know, Nongshim play. They play like, you know, we're kind of used to it, so there's less of a surprise.
I want to ask you a question, Brent, because I like the only games I've like long term followed as an esport were Counter-Strike, which obviously there's a lot less differences in terms of utility, and VALORANT for any significant amount of time. In like when you were working Overwatch, did you see the styles of different regions converge throughout the lifespan of the game in a similar way to what's happening in VALORANT, or was it a different case?
It's kind of weird because they kind of just homogenized it. There was no grassroots in Overwatch. It existed for 2 years, and then they paved it over with cement and put a Walmart on it. Like they legit, and then they just combined all the teams and had them play in LA. So, but the teams did have regional differences because Korea was one of the first regions to really hone in on dive and show how strong it was. Previously, everybody was looking at Winston as just a funny little Winton character, and then they just got they actually got primal bladed by some fucking dude on Monkey, some cracked out gamer. And then China also had some weird ass takes, but they were pretty strong at times as well with like Sombra stuff. Yeah, different regions do have it. I also think as well that we did still see different takes on the meta. Some people played Double Duelist, but they played it in a lot more controlled ways at this event. I think because we're just a recency bias is easy to fall into. We're thinking about like the fast-paced Double Duelist more, but LG were playing solo duelist, double initiator, slow controlled the entire time.
But I'll say this, I think, Brent, that we got a treat with the top four of having two very different double duelist teams in the way that Paper Rex versus Nongshim play, and having a team that was pretty much hard anti-meta and energy, and having a G2 that was kind of a mix between those styles. I think if you look earlier in the tournament in the group stage, there was a lot more matches where it was just same comp. Yeah. I feel like it was a bit of an exception to the rule of this tournament that we did get that much variety in the top four.
I know how this is gonna come across, but I'm gonna say it because I believe in it. I think part of it's because we just had plenty of people who weren't playing those double duelists well enough.
Yeah,
like, I'm just gonna put it out there, right?
G2
You're just copying.
Adapted, with their final two games in kickoff, and they were just catching up the whole time.
And I mean, you got people like CB out here single-handedly responsible for not getting Neon nerfed this patch. God. You know, like we've got like we have this array of teams that are just not playing the double. But I half jokingly call them out. But I would say even the other teams. I'm not saying that they're bad players, but it's like you're playing the Neon very differently than Nongshim, right? And then you've got other teams that are playing the Waylay very differently than, well, I guess obviously NRG who's playing it solo, but in those cases as well, where I just think it's like. People thought about, okay, double duelist is the meta. We got to go double dive, and then you're just double diving. But we didn't really see enough variation, and maybe you just didn't have enough time.
This might be a crazy take, but if 100 Thieves made it to the event, I actually think they would have done really well.
The Sage?
I do too. Like the.
Dude,
no,
okay, I was
actually I was going into the top four.
I know they weren't there, but I think stylistically they would have. Okay, my point was they were playing it. No, dude, Nongshim are sick. I'm just saying, with the amount of double duelists the teams were playing, with them opting into Sage, I actually think that would have worked really well.
Does Alice just sit when you do Plat chat off to the side?
It's when I say something tilting.
Ready?
It's when I say something tilting. She's just chilling. She's just doing her own thing, but then I say something that just ticks her off. And then
no, but I do agree with you. When I was like getting ready for the top four, I know you guys had this discussion on the last episode, but I was thinking for like the test, like how the hell do you stop Dombi? Because I thought G2 had a good answer in their game. Play abuse shotguns and Odins, play close to smoke so you can cut him off in the fast lane before he gets out. You have to force the timings on the fight. You cannot get caught in the middle of like actually anchoring and letting him hit into you. And then I was like, well, what agents can you play? Because NRG had this time to go and ahead of the upper finals, maybe switch stuff up. And I was thinking, well, they could try and play Vice, but I think that's like you can path around that on most maps. Like on their split, you just start fighting really heavy for like A Heaven. And then I was thinking like, I think Sage or on the Bind that got let into that pool, the Deadlock would have been really, really cool agents to try and see how it would affect Nongshim to play into. I was hoping a team would try that so we could at least see, but no one ended up going that way.
Yeah.
100 Thieves wouldn't have made it to playoffs to play Nongshim, I don't think, though. But it would have been very cool.
I mean, you never know. They ended up losing to just NRG. Twice.
Yeah.
And that's how they went out of kickoff.
I'm shocked
like a
that
top 4 team.
we're 20 minutes into the episode, and the Red Clout America's team we've managed to bring up for no reason is 100 Thieves and
my
not
bad.
Sentinels.
I was thinking at the time it was because I was just thinking about like stylist again, the same line of thought of like how do you shut down Danby,
Sure.
and I was thinking, well, one of the only teams because I only watched Americas, I couldn't watch any other regions before Santiago, and I was just thinking, well, 100 Thieves actually would have matched up, but anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter, they weren't there.
Sure.
So you're right. I don't want to take anything away from the winners.
TMV, what was your favorite meta?
My favorite meta was Champs Paris. I think variety is the spice of life. And I do get what Chob was saying. I do think like if you were forced everyone to play like a particular archetype, Double Initiator is the one that allows you maybe to do a little bit of everything. And therefore you get that variety within itself. And I think that I think is the like bigger picture. Not that like we're getting a ton of mirror match games, because we actually aren't. There, like within Double Duelist, there are a ton of different ways, and like Nongshim are an example of a very different style within it. And there are a lot of different Double Duelist styles, but I think it's just like when you go for those comps, Double Duelist, no Senti, your general game plans are going to be quite aggressive. Like everyone's going to play quite aggressive, quite the same. Give me Champs Paris back.
I do think, though, that we might have had a stronger argument for saying that this meta was one of the most fun if these games actually delivered. Because I think it has
was
potential to be one.
Dude, the tournament was sick.
Did I say the
Disagree.
tournament was ass, Bren? No, I said every game,
The
every
tournament
game was
was
a
sick.
stomp. Every game was a stomp in like most of this
Yeah,
tournament was a stomp.
I
There
don't think this
out
was
of
a
the
great
games
tournament.
that we watched, I would say
crowd was sick.
maybe 5% of them actually delivered on being as good as they should have been. There was throughout the Swiss stage there was one good
game.
match in
game.
in Swiss. It was Energy Paper Rex. That was the only good one. In the top 8, how many good games were there in the top 8?
was
There
the
was Energy
BBL
Paper Rex
game.
again. That was good. There was BBL Energy. That was
It's
good.
basically NRG. They love playing
Yes.
close games. They
It was-
carried the tournament.
They did in terms of fun games, but top 4 was also just kind of disappointing. I really enjoyed watching this tournament regardless. Like this tournament was like it reignited me like just being giga passionate for Valorant after coming into this year and being kind of like, oh, okay, double duels, whatever, man. But like I was so excited about it, even though all so many of the matches ended up being bad. But I still think that if these top 4 matches actually delivered in a bigger way, the narrative would shift to people being very excited about this meta. Because I think at its peak, if we're seeing like NRG playing the counter style, the 2 different types of double duelists with the Neon versus like the Phoenix teams, it could have been one of the coolest tournaments ever. And it was still pretty cool, but because the matches were stomps, it just limits what the ceiling can be. Compared to Champs Paris, where every match was like great in playoffs.
Was it Tokyo as well that had like a lot of bad games? I feel like there's the better the crowd is, the worse the games are. Because I feel like the crowd was amazing.
I remember Fnatic EG Upper Final was amazing.
That was an
tournament.
amazing game.
That
But
was one of the
that
best
was,
I
like,
games.
about
remember the
it.
Tokyo being like known for like, oh, isn't the crowd so great? But so many of the games aren't.
I'm looking at
Yeah. Because
There's a lot
Tokyo
of
had
2-0s
like
on
the giga disappointing loud roster or
Mm,
performance as
yeah.
well,
They
right?
flopped.
Like that
They
was a big
flopped.
part of it.
Dude, they
yeah.
actually nailed it with the narrative, the pre-narrative videos that they do.
Yeah.
At that event at Tokyo, I remember all of that. But
Yeah.
they didn't do it for Santiago. They did like one
No.
for
No,
Swiss
it was
and
only
then
one.
That
one
was
for the finals.
one of my biggest disappointments of this event.
Yeah.
I think, so for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, if you watch older VCT events, every day they would make a daily tease video that was a mix of interviews with the players, gameplay, and it
They
was
were
really
so
like
sick.
this all of the narratives coming together in a way to get you really excited for the event. And I don't know the reason per se, but for this event, it was only for the opening day and for the grand finals that we got those videos, and they were, I think, significantly shorter and seemingly less like highly produced than previous ones, which I was pretty disappointed by, because I thought they were a great way to get insight on player personalities and be a casual fan, but immediately have something to care about and have a great
Yeah.
overview of the narratives.
Yep, it was a great way to get. I completely agree. Narratives are the number one way you get casual people into your esport. Because they're the easiest thing to follow. They don't have to know about you get slowed by this percentage when a slow orb gets placed in here, and then this team has this. Nobody cares about that. They care about this player was 12 years old when they picked up a mouse, and now they are fucking killing everybody. That's the shit that gets.
Imagine a montage of Danby
a...
kills you could have got.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when we're in a world also where I think a lot of the viewing of Valorant is clicking onto a co-streamer who is playing Sudoku until 30 seconds, no offense TMV, until 30 seconds before the match starts. And if I'm a viewer who tune in, I'm like, well, Sudoku's getting played and now there's a match going on. And there's not a lot of time to like build up that excitement really or like sell that thing. They were a great way to lock people in and be like, hey, this is what's going on, and like here's the big narratives to pay attention to, even if you don't like listen to the casters or pay attention to the media or anything like that. Anyways, this was a huge discretion. Kurt's gonna kill me because we're 30 minutes into this episode and I've gotten us through one topic.
That's the member question, guys. Be a member.
Yes, that's a member
Let's
question. Let's talk about the patch notes and kind of continue our discussion around the meta here. Wyatt released the patch notes, obviously a new agent coming out. We'll talk more about Mix in a second, but some changes coming in, basically all nerfs what we're seeing here. So let's start by bringing up the biggest thing as we scroll through here. Agents, obviously Mix exists now. Sage, these aren't really anything real other than changing her model and UI. Sky got aligned with the other initiators. This is a big buff. 60-second cooldown. I'm just going to breeze through this quick and then we can talk about implications. Yoru, TP now only lasts 15 seconds where it previously lasted 30, and he now only has one flash. So he's gone from a minute of map presence to 30 seconds and now only has one blind compared to Phoenix and all the flash initiators that all have two. Clove received a smoke duration while dead nerf that'll be pretty impactful for ranked, but obviously they weren't already getting played in pro play. And that's it, besides some map changes. In terms of agent shifts, that's it. So, I will ask you this. They have nerfed Yoru.
Mm-hmm.
A, is Yoru dead? And B, if Yoru is dead, does this change anything at all about the big picture of what the meta is right now and it being Double Duelist City?
A, not dead, but big nerf.
Sure.
Big nerf, but not dead. I don't think Yoru's dead. And B, less Yoru means we're gonna get a change. But C, to answer a question you didn't even ask, they gave us the answer already with the Sky buff.
Yeah, the Sky buff kind of just immediately.
And in fact, I would argue that we're talking about all these different ways of playing Double Duelist. I would argue they now have made it even more clear of play Neon Waylay and play Sky.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hard agree. I think I was a little bit disappointed personally that they didn't revert any of the initiator stuff really, and also they didn't buff Sentinels in this patch, because I don't know. It was like we've had a tournament and like a big patch cycle since it got nerfed. It was like right after Champs when it got nerfed, right? So we've had a couple of months now playing on it, and I think this is my take on it when I'm playing Valorant now. It's like, gunplay is more important for ranked, right? Which is the way that most people play the game and most people are consuming the game.
Do you think gunplay was unimportant? Do you think I think it was impressive in ranked? And
no, I think it was still important. It wasn't because that required coordination, which people didn't have. Like gunplay's always been the best way to play, but now they've given no reason to even try for the other way, if that makes sense. Like when I play Sova, I've been thinking about this a lot, to be honest. At the beginning of Valorant, you had people opening up YouTube channels for individual heroes and finding out specific tech for them. And when you remove and nerf somebody, like just flatten across the board these different aspects of characters that make people want to like one-trick them or play them or really find out the real minutia and tech within them, that removes some of the flavor from your game. Because right now in ranked, it's like I feel like you can just play whatever in ranked, and it's fine because shooting is the primary way that you're going to be end up winning. You can have a rough composition, but it will work out. And rank's always going to be like that roughly, but I'm a bit disappointed they didn't go back on that, because now I'm imagining like an entire stage until we're going to get another set of patches where this is the case, where we're probably going to be seeing just the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same archetype of gameplay that we've been seeing, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, I like seeing the micro stuff, but I feel like some of the that agent mastery that you see has been taken away because everything is just so flattened now, and it feels like just the gunplay is the primary thing that you need to focus on no matter what.
I think a great example of that is like Cypher, right? Like you
Yeah.
can imagine loads of people would be like Cypher one tricks who have all these crazy setups, that they know in ranked, and they've spent ages like preparing them and stuff like that for each map and each site.
Yeah.
But now it feels like, well, what's the point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you could even bring that to a
isn't
higher
really
level.
good.
I think a great example is the Envy guys who ascended. That team won with having a one-trick Cypher player and a one-trick Yoru player who, even at a pretty high level of play, found great success of going into that. I think that for me, my biggest disappointment is that this feels like it's Riot afraid of going back to a util-heavy meta, and instead of creating those individual moments that you're talking about, Bren, for these agents and letting them feel like they have power in their identity. And the language they use a lot is like the power fantasy of playing an agent. I think that's dead right now, especially for Sentinels. You play Vise, Double Duelist completely bulldozes you. You play Cypher, you can't really play for kill trips anymore. You're just like a focus on the macro, what information can I add to my team kind of character, and maybe some impact on lurk on attack. You play Initiator, it's so much harder to have that cool Sova moment where you dart and you do all these different things to set up your team perfectly and get this combo. All of that has been whittled away, that now I think only the duelist characters really have that kind of power still of feeling like you can have that agency. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
You're Neon, you can look like Dombi. I mean, he looks like he has the most agency of anyone in the world.
Yeah.
You're a little less so now, but Waylay as well. Like, these characters are the ones that have that power. No one else does. My hope was that they maybe nerfed Yoru some, but largely left the duelists the same, because remember, these duelists were at this power level for a long time without causing these amount of problems. And that was because, if you look at, we're all glazing the meta at Champs. We're all talking about how much we loved watching that version of the game. What that version of the game had was very strong characters in every class. Viper was very strong. The Sentinels, Vise was incredible that patch. Waylay was just coming into the fray and good. Yoru was good. But you had these choices as to what to go, and the Initiators in particular were still very strong. So it allowed you to make intentional choices about how you play the game. This to me has whittled it away to where individual agents matter less and less, and I think that's a disappointing direction for the game, in my opinion.
I think it's just the whole continuation of like listening to the top voices too much, right? Because I think from a completely like pro play POV, yes, I think these changes are enough that you can still try to figure out if it's enough or not, and kind of go through one season and see how the macro changes, etc. But like you guys just said, that's not how the majority of players are playing, and if they're not playing, they're not going to be watching as much, right? And so it all comes together. And the flip side of this is also like you're all talking about like I want the power fantasy, etc. But as someone who, and I don't even mean this as a joke, as someone who likes to purposely play underpowered characters in games to see what they can possibly do to figure out those one-trick situations, like I now boot up the game and I'm like, there's not really an agent I particularly want to play because they're all kind of the same, right? Like there's not a certain agent where I'm like, ooh, this person's just purposely not getting played right now because everyone thinks they suck. So let me try to figure out what kind of tricks and nuances you can find out. So it's definitely been all washed down. The only caveat I'll give them is if they weren't watching Pacific and Kickoff, I guess you just didn't realize how much more abusive Neon could really get at the
Do you
tippy
think she
top.
needed a nerf though? Because I think in ranked at her current level, if you actually go and play her in ranked, she's hard to get value with to the extent of what they're doing in pro play. Like the gas recharge time is pretty debilitating, I think.
I will say, okay, let me phrase this the correct way because I've been trying to think about this for like the past 2 weeks and I couldn't find the right words. But
sure,
I think Neon needs a nerf because she is one of, if not the only people that break the rules of the game. So if you boil this down to thinking about Valorant as a turn-based game, right? Which it's not, but imagine that it is. Neon is the only one who can really, if you master it, which realistically only Dombi has, but if you do master it, you can take your turn peeking for information, correctly and not get hit and take away their turn, you can then bunny hop and avoid their turn and give your teammates a turn, and then you can slide and take your turn, and then you can bunny hop again immediately because there's no cooldown on the sprint. So this is the only agent where it's like, for instance, if you look at Chamber, it's like you shoot and you go back, but it's not like you're like entirely taking away their turn. They can now take that space. But Neon is just
it's
like,
the same with Waylay, where you can take that space and you can stay, but once you refract, you completely lose that potential.
Exactly. But Neon is like, it's like if you're in a turn-based game, and if which I know there's plenty of you in the Plat chat viewer and listener base, if you're a gacha player, if you think about a game like Honkai Star Rail, when it first released, they released with a character called Sela. It released with a character Sela, who basically was like, oh, look at the time, it's my turn again. You know, I use my ult, it's my turn. I kill an enemy, it's my turn again. And then you just keep racking up.
It's a very fighting game concept. It is like the concept of like, when is it my turn? Like you're blocking, because they balance the games around that. I fuck with the analogy a lot, to be honest.
I think where I see her biggest issue, I see what you're saying, especially about like how she can path sites on attack side. But I think why she's going to be so strong in pro play is that she is now basically the only character that can full break rotate timers on defense. I think that's why Yoru was so oppressive. I think his biggest problem was the defensive rotates of having 60 seconds of map presence where he can be A and C on Haven at the same time, where he can be walking down a line on an up, holding information there, and then be able to rotate over and have 3 players on site. That's why Yoru Neon defense on Haven is so horrendous to play into, because there will always be 4 players on the site you are hitting into. Now Neon is the only character to do that. So, Chopra, I'll ask you this. How would you have liked to see them change Neon without butchering her? Because I think that that's a very hard balance to strike.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you... Okay, so the answer to that question is, I think, a like slight cooldown and or animation on like activating and deactivating the sprint, but that would just feel bad. I think that would make it balanced without taking away the power fantasy, but I think that would end up being clunky. I don't see how you make that very smooth.
I have a solution.
So, for
all of this, all of these problems. They nerfed Ray Satchel. They nerfed agent movement because it was unfair that you were getting shotgunned as the barriers dropped. They gave it to Waylay. Make every character bullshit. Make every character bullshit,
oh, he's
man.
Been playing,
give Razor Satchels back again, bro. Give Jets. So, I mean, Jets. I think Jets like should be your. That's like your litmus test almost. That's where you want most agents to be at, because she's just good in general, right? Across the board in the game, she still gets play in pro play. She gets a lot of play in ranked. But just make characters bullshit again. Make characters bullshit and then bring it down a little bit, because it's just I don't know the
flip side to that. The flip side to that, and which, by the way, I mean, they never did that with League either, right? Everyone was saying like, just make everything stronger instead of nerfing everything, and Riot for the longest time.
We had that in 10 Valorant. Years. And it's only the last year where we've gone the other way.
Yes.
I think end of 2025 Valorant, everything was overpowered, so nothing was, and you had choices. I would say that the game is actually in a very well balanced state. And I think in the way that Riot wants to move their game, this is a good balance patch, right? It deals with the Yoru problem, does this stuff. But I don't like that direction, is my issue. I think that they've neutered a lot of what makes the game cool and unique with this power in order to get that balance. And I think as they add more and more agents, the more diluted all of them feel. It's just like, what's
I agree.
Point?
Let me just add one last line in case anyone from Riot is listening, because I agree with what you're just saying. And to add on to that, if you're going to go this direction,
we've yapped for so long and said nothing.
Well, I thought you were going to say it's because I mentioned Honkai Star Rail, but if
Riot they went to do their dailies when you said that.
If Riot is going to go in this direction, you might as well just bring the barriers to spawn and just make it a different colored CS, like literally. And then at that point, it might even be a better game. Because honestly, right now, it's just in the middle. It's not CS, and it's not
trying to bring
a
up the
hero shooter.
viewership. I like it.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't want that, which I don't think you do, then you should just make everything a little bit crazier again.
I
just don't get. They've just, like I said this when they did the big balance patch in the off season. There's just certain things that I just don't get why they're just like hamstringing themselves. Like, why are all initiator cooldowns? Why do they have to be 60 seconds? Why can't breaches be 40? Like, if breaches was
for the player.
Bren, you can learn a number.
I know.
It's
I
not
know,
that
but
hard.
but
it's one
it's a-
number.
it's
Oh,
like
I'm playing this agent. Oh, it says 40 seconds. Okay. 40. I
but
can
the
see it
game is-
count down.
The
It
game
doesn't
is like
matter.
round based, so they want to simplify it for people to be able to get into. It's like it's just the homogenizing of the design so that everything is similar to someone. So
Yeah, but
they've always
this is
had
what we're
this
talking about.
philosophy
But
when it comes to abilities. Some abilities share the exact same velocity and throw things so that you
Yeah,
don't
but
have
that
to
makes
learn a
sense for
brand new
lineups and
thing.
stuff. Yeah, but it's a
They
number.
do it to make the game more
But
accessible.
they hadn't done it for the whole time. Like Deadlock had
Sure,
a
but
40-second cooldown, and none of the other Sentinels did
I
for a
would
very
argue
long
the game
time.
is already not that accessible, and I don't think if I'm a casual player and I'm trying to learn Valorant for my first time. I was born in 2008. I just turned, I don't know how old someone born in
18.
oh fuck, 18, and I want to play this game. I think the issue of the learning curve is going to be the number of agents and figuring out what all those do. I don't
Well,
think
also,
any
you don't
casual
even get that
player
many
is
agents
tracking
when you-
util timer. No
you don't
one's
get that many
tracking
agents
util
when you're playing
timers.
as well.
Yeah, well, that's another issue.
So I think that
But I don't think that matters for the casual player. And I think the people who already play the game who are good enough to need to track util timers. No one's fucking tracking util timers in silver. No one's tracking util timers in gold. No, like it doesn't
But to
matter.
give you
Do
another
it.
example as well, Brent, they made all the stuns the same time.
Yeah.
Who, when they're stunned, is going, oh, this is fine because
It's so that
now
you
I know that all the stuns are the
but
same.
it's subconscious for a player. When you're stunned, you know when it's your turn again. I understand why they
So-
do it all. I agree with you on some point. I'm just giving you their point of view for it because
Yes.
from a player's perspective,
But
these are things that they.
my problem with that is they do it for stuns. They don't do it for flashes. They don't do it for smokes. They don't do it for
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, they just-
so you
they just added a
anyone who
character
had a
with
stun
16-second
just
smokes
got
instead of 14.
nerfed.
I agree. It removes
For no
levers that you
reason.
could balance with. I agree. You could be tweaking individual numbers and you could find a much better thing. But it just I'm just explaining why they would
I understand.
go
Brent.
about this,
Do you guys
this
think-
path.
I
So
understand.
You guys
Talk
think
about
maybe it's
100.
just the classic issue of maybe they just have different balance teams for each role? Maybe there's an initiator balance team.
I don't-
and
I don't
maybe
think
there's a
they
do, but-
controller balance team.
I don't think so.
yeah, it's
I,
No, I
I,
don't
I
think
think
so.
During
this is a
Champs
clear
2025, they
direction.
harmonized. The Power
Yes.
Rangers, they came together and agreed upon a meta, and then the Duelists, like the Fire Nation or whatever, an attack.
Sure. Yeah, I think that this is a clear direction from Riot. It's clear. Like we're talking through this. We can see the way they want the game to go, and I think we can probably agree that like if that's what they want, they're achieving that with this. But I think we're kind of all aligned that it's like not at least at the pro level, not as fun to see compared to when you get that much more variety. Buff the fucking Sentinels. Make that class mean something again, for the love of God. Like, please.
Yes.
Nerf also.
Cool.
Nerf Viper. Make her less of a sentinel. I think her having global presence is fine, and that's her niche. But I think decay there needs to be a change made either to her decay or to her molly to make her less oppressive as a sentinel on defense. She does two roles too well right now. I think they need to hone her to be great in the niche as a like conditioning control agent on the attack side, and of having global presence without that oppressive anchoring. Because she's just randomly what was it, like 80% pick rate this event? Like the most of any agent?
yeah, she's always been very high pick rate for her entire
Yeah.
existence.
Yeah.
Oh, they need to rework Viper,
Yeah.
Yes.
in my
Yep.
opinion.
She cannot
need
be
a
allowed to be a
actual
sentinel.
It's cool that she has this unique space, though. I think if you what you've just argued that we should be adding individuality back to agents,
Yeah.
and now we're making a case to make Viper similar
Yes.
to other agents again.
No,
No.
I'm saying that she needs to have her niche of being an attack side lurk agent who provides presence on the map and conditioning, right? And I think she attains that by being able to cycle a wall and an orb from anywhere on the map that she can place practically anywhere on the map. No one else can do that. Harbor can't do that. Maybe you can argue Astra pullback starts are a little similar, but no one else can do that without it having a hard timer
Yeah.
of when you can. That is 100% unique. I think that is a cool design for a character. And I think that it's the same on defense to be able to have creative retake walls, creative walls to fight forward. That stuff I think is awesome. And that's why I love this character. But I think she's too good at sitting back on a site, throwing poison orb and molly in a choke and full stalling for like 8 seconds.
Yeah.
That needs to go.
I think it's pretty clear we talk about Neon as well. Like I think they've clearly struggled to balance fuel, especially when they're nerfing all the cooldowns of everything else. Like when you have fuel and can consistently do stuff like that, that's a pretty gigantic thing to have when everyone else is waiting 60 seconds to do anything, and you can just consistently do it all the time.
Holy shit. Neon nerf? Gas prices are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
She now has to pay 100 credits for every 10% of her fuel.
Why are we nerfing Neon, by the way? why is this discussion come about while we're nerfing Neon?
Because
one player
Domby
who's
was
put
the MVP of a tournament.
yeah,
And,
because he's
played
put
incredible.
thousands of hours into it and should be rewarded for it. But
No, I
nobody
kind of agree.
nobody
I think
can do
watching
what Dambi's
Dambi on
doing.
Neon versus everyone else is a,
Like-
is a
But okay,
completely
okay, okay.
different
I
game.
think, Bren, the reason we're talking about it is because if Riot is nerfing everyone and is trying to avoid these characters that are doing all of these different things at once and has this crazy power expression, then in that system it makes sense to nerf Neon. In the Plat chat balance teams Valorant, we would keep Neon as is. Maybe we fucking buffer, give her the second stun back. I don't know. But
Sure.
in the current Riot Games Valorant balance patch, I think she's too strong.
Yeah,
But
I'm-
I'd like to see them keep her as is and instead give power back to other agents. We're getting recursive now, but
Yeah.
I think we're
New agent.
pretty aligned in what we want to see. Let's talk about Nyx. The new agent that got added to Valorant. Talk about the 2008 viewer being 18 years old. I looked up this song and I was like, oh, I remember listening to this song when I was like playing Call of Duty Black Ops on my Xbox. Released 13 years ago.
what
Good.
clarity?
Clarity. Released
Yeah.
13 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
It was
quite
a great
some time
song
ago.
though for the
There's
for
players
the reveal.
playing
It was,
that were just born when that was released.
yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah. Have any of you gotten to play the creator patch and get hands-on time with him?
Yes.
Give us a rundown, TMV, of your impressions.
Okay. Well, the smoke is a smoke.
Yes.
I know, guys. I know. I
Wow.
know. Calm down. I can see you're excited. Hear me out. The smoke is a smoke. There you go.
Uh-huh.
You place it down like Brim. The size is like it might be slightly different to Brim, but it's basically Brim's size. 40-second cooldown. And it lasts like 16 seconds, I think. So it does actually last longer than most, but not the longest. Not as long as Brim and Harbor, but you know, pretty decent. But it is just a smoke. There's two of them. You can buy one. It's just a smoke. Then you get the stim thing. I can't remember what any of the abilities is called, but you can stim a teammate. Speaking of Neon, I think if you are going to play this agent, then pairing it with Neon is going to be probably a big part of that, because obviously Neon, while stimmed, is going to be crazy. And if you both have to be alive, I'm pretty sure. But if one of you gets a kill, then it refreshes the stim. So you could just, you know, in theory, you know, keep zooming around. Which could be fun. And then probably the most important one is what you're about to show, Kurt. Yeah, which is this, which is either a heal. You're gonna see a lot of fidget spinning on this because you can just keep pressing right click and it goes from one to the other. It's either a heal or a stun. My big problem with it, for at least for the defense side, is that it has 50 HP. So 2 bullets of anything can destroy it. So
And you can destroy it before it has the first pulse of the
yes,
stun.
you can just straight up destroy it. One classic right click, it's gone.
But it's like a KO nade, right, where it goes through walls?
Goes through walls.
Yes, it does go through walls, but often I found that if you don't want it to get destroyed and throw it on the side of like a wall, the problem is it's then not big enough a lot of the time to it might be in some instances, like for instance, like a good example of a KO nade one is like Ascent, like, you know, when you're doing a retake and you throw it just like on the top and it goes through the floor and kills someone, right, who's in hell. Like that would work, right? That's a good example of like where it would work. But for a lot of like, oh, you threw it on the other side of the box so they can't shoot it, but the area isn't big enough, they can probably just take a step back and be fine anyway. So I think when like there's a big exec and, you know, there's a lot of chaotic stuff going on, people won't be like, oh, I'm going to, you know, just instantly shoot this thing because they might be worried about other stuff, right? In like a pro setting. But I think, particularly for defense side, it means that his stall is like, you know, you throw that in the choke point, but they just shoot. They're about to do an exit, they just shoot it, and they just run past it. And you can actually knife out run the whole distance as well if you like time it right, without getting stunned. Also, that's another thing to keep in mind. And then the ult is a cone.
And it's also it's post nerf stun time, so it's pretty short the amount of time it actually hits you too, right? It's cohesive with all the other game stuns.
Like if you get hit by the first stun, like in the middle, you won't, unless you're on like Neon, you know, but if you're a normal agent, you can't escape the second one.
Oh, sure, because of the other pulses.
Yeah, so like there are certain circumstances where it could be quite strong. But yeah, the ult I was actually like fairly like, oh, this is actually quite good, because the cone shape initially when they said that I was like, oh, that just sounds kind of weird. But there are certain sites, like it deafens, slows you, and knocks you back. As
kind of
Kurtis showed there. Yeah, there are certain sites, like for instance, think about like Lotus Sea site when you're going towards it from, and you've got the mound. Like a breach ult or a fade ult might be a bit awkward. You miss kind of some corners and whatever. Like it fully gets everything you want it to.
And not just
there
that
are
as well.
certain-
It's like your teammates can stand close to you and not get
and it's
hit
not
by
going to
it.
hit your team. But if you do hit your team, you will hit them. Like
Yeah.
they get affected by it. But yeah, you shouldn't hit your team. But if you want to troll, you can. Also, a crucial thing to know about the ult is if you are diffusing and if you plant in a corner and ult them, but they're diffusing in that corner, it won't push them off. It will if you like do it the opposite way and push them away from the corner. But like if you just it doesn't automatically push them off if you do it in a direction with where they are already.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, the best part of their kit, in my opinion, is the stim. That for ranked, that shit's gonna be broken.
For ranked, yeah.
Dude, it's gonna be broken. There's a reason why they took out the speed boost from Clove's pick me up, the heal.
Yeah,
the little heal of kill is because it's insane. Like if
The reason why they were such
people
a good
probably
poke
remember.
stomper.
Yeah, you try and take a fight against a Clove that just had a pick me up, and they are on ice skates.
Yeah.
They are on ice skates because of the Pika's advantage. Like they've baked it into two characters now, which I know people are going to be thinking like, "What? Isn't that just Brimstone? Isn't that what Brimstone does?" And yeah, you're kind of right. But also, it does refresh after kills.
Yeah, the fact that refresh.
And you're favored in fights with it.
I
if you
do
got Dambi in
fear-
your ranked game, you're gonna cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do fear in pro play. Why would I ever play this character when Brimstone exists?
I mean, okay,
when I can
there is
have a stim anyway. When I have a much better stall tool and a much better post plant tool with the Molly, and the ult is I think still more impactful from Brim with orbital strike.
I feel
or
you.
versatile at least.
That was where my brain went to. The smokes regen though, right?
Correct, they do 40 seconds like the
Yeah.
only controllers.
Which is quite nice, and it's nice as well to have. I think Brimstone's one of the only controllers that has like his kit, the ult as well, is kind of not in terms of it's like damaging. It's like it's impactful.
Sure.
You can take something with it. The rest of the controllers are kind of, they're a
the
bit
thing is
weaker when it
I
comes to
don't
that.
see where Mix is going to be competitive on
Hear me
maps
out,
that
hear me
aren't
out.
already Brim maps. And if it's already a Brim map, it's
Yeah.
like I'd rather play Brim.
Hear me out. You play Brim on
Uh-huh.
Fracture. And this is for you, Chobra. You can give this to the Nongshim boys because I think they would be the team to do this. You play Brim. You play Mix together. And you play Neon. And you double stim Neon on Fracture. And you just yeet that Neon in. And they are constantly stimmed. So you start off the round, you Brim stim. They run forward. You then, do the little pointer fingers at the Neon just as that first stim is running out. You stim them again. Dambi's going in. He cannot be hit by anything. He's faster than light. He actually isn't on the screen because he's traveling faster than light. He kills people. And then you get the stim again and he does it again and he's already on the other side of the map. He's going so fast.
Yeah.
That is the way. But yeah,
That's-
you're right. Like as a primary controller, I think there's just better
Yeah.
options
But-
on most maps. And as a secondary
also-
controller, you need a bad Viper map, which Fracture might be.
But wouldn't you just pick up Harbor as a second controller?
Nah.
Yeah,
Harbor,
but
since
we're thinking
the
about Nongshim. We're playing
no,
we're
not
playing
for
Dambi. We
Nongshim.
want to
No,
go
no, no,
fast.
no. if
Then
you're-
dude,
yes,
Harbor they
okay,
made.
yeah.
I mean, even with the buffs that they did to the activation time of his little ball that he puts, I don't know what you call it, the near sight thing.
His little
It's just
ball.
a worse. Why would you
Whirlpool
not just
thing.
play Omen? Like Omen, a paranoia, you can go through walls and you can
because
set
it-
up your team.
It
Because
slows
Harbor
you
smoke
when
is
you're flooding
actually,
through, and Cove is
It
nice.
slows
for
your
retakes and
teammates
for
too,
fun.
and you
Yeah,
only get
but-
one smoke that regens rather than Omen gets two.
Yeah,
Sure,
but
I
as a
know, but
secondary
but I-
controller, I think as a secondary controller, I think him having only one orb smoke doesn't matter as much on a lot of the maps, and also his ult is way more impactful than Omen. So I actually think that if you get good at it as a secondary controller, I think at that point, if you're picking Omen, it's a comfort issue. I think,
I
but this
really
is, I mean,
like
we're getting
G2's
like
Abyss with
really
the
far
Harbor.
into it. But,
Yeah, I know. We've
But
been
we're
getting
not
into the
picking
weeds for like an
mix.
hour.
That's what matters.
but yes, but we're not picking mix. That's the whole topic on hand. Is that you'd rather pick Omen or Harbor at that point than mix.
See, it's interesting we
I do
talked about
think
new
that
players.
The design is interesting for Mix though. That he, I think the stim thing has
Not the
potential
smoke.
to be very cool, And I think that there's interesting stuff there. The ability to like get kills and keep that going. I mean, it's nice that the smokes are at least in line. They're 2 seconds longer than an Omen or an Astra smoke. Holy shit. And I just think that the what is it, the C, the little robot is just not fucking gonna be that useful whatsoever. Like I think that ability is just gonna completely suck. But I think the rest of the kit is really pretty interesting. And I think maybe if that got changed, you could see it more. Maybe in pro play there could be some argument to play this
Mix
character,
isn't that far away, to be honest.
I think it's really just like the stun being more useful with
if they just buffed this little bot thing to where like it has to go off at least once before you can shoot it. Like if they just did something as basic as that, I think he would actually be like fairly pretty good. I'm not gonna say he'd be OP or anything, but like, he'd be useful.
Playable.
Yeah, playable. Because you get 2 of them, right? And so like, and you can throw them across the map. So you can do lineups with them. So if like you had to have at least 1 pulse of it, you could make the a site like, pretty hot, like, with a bunch of areas that like are now being stunned. We're going back to Teo stuff where the floor is lava stuff. Like that because they are a decent size, 2 of them like landing at the same time would create some problems for you. And with then like a stimmed duelist going in also. Like he's not that far away from being like at least fairly decent. I just think if they just buff either the HP of that bot or whatever it is, because like the healing, what I like about that ability with the healing is like agents who have healing like often suffer because a lot of the time you don't need a heal, right? Or the guy who needs a heal.
I think Sky's a good example where the C is super situational. It doesn't.
Yeah, like it's
you're never picking
situational.
Sky because of it.
Yeah, but this like you have an ability that in those certain situations you can still get the use of the healing. So I do like that element to it. That a lot of agents who have healing, it's like you're Sage, you've got a signature ability, but how often do you Sage heal 2 people? Because like how often are you using it at the start of a round? Never, right?
Yeah.
But this I like. He's not that far away.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, and I think he'll get a lot of play in ranked. I think this is the new number 1 E-Dater agent of all time. Congratulations, guys! You got a fucking treat with Mix, and I agree. I think pretty close to being playable and an interesting design. It's funny that he just looks like Gecko though. That was like kind of weird.
He's just in a wingman suit. He looks like something.
Yeah.
He looks like something in a wingman suit. Yep.
Yeah.
Very real. All right. Well, we're an hour into the episode. Should we talk about the event that this episode is about?
We didn't talk about the Lotus changes.
Oh.
They're good.
I'm not even kidding. Okay, we can just leave it at that. Lotus changes, good.
Brandon,
They are
just
just
talk
good.
about your Lotus changes. Go.
They're good. They thicken the walls. They stopped the Odin spam off the rip. They made it easier to go attack side A. Good changes.
Okay.
Yep.
Lotus changes, good. I think the map team cooked with that one.
They did.
Good job, the map team.
Nice.
Yeah.
They
I think
further
they cooked.
de-brocked the game. Good work, guys.
Yep.
I mean, they
there you
cooked.
can see it. It's a little different in a lobby.
They stopped the
Oh,
Koreans,
and also
like
we
that
should
little
say as well.
revolving door.
Can you go back up to where they stopped? No, go down. The down.
Oh, yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why the fuck on Haven did they just slap a fucking
Oh.
that little barrier on it? This they've done like a full nice artistic.
looks
like,
nice.
Yeah, it
No,
looks
but
cool.
that's-
I've been on Lotus. It looks nice. On Haven they just fucking here's a plaster.
because
Fucking
it's-
slapped it on the wall.
It's because it's breakable.
Yeah, it's
I agree
breakable.
with you. I
Yeah,
think
but
it's
I don't
dumb that
care.
looks
Just
like
make
that
it so
on
you
Haven.
go and spam it. It looks
I
awful.
like that
I
it's
still
breakable
hate
because
it.
then in like post plant retakes you can still spam.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
nice
it's
that
I
it's
think it's
breakable.
good
Just
design.
make
that
a
it's
different
breakable.
design then.
Yep.
It looks
Make it look
fine.
nice.
No, because it needs
No,
to
it's
be
ugly.
Everyone plays
consistent
low
with the.
settings
Why
anyway. You're not going to
the
tell me you play
hell-
high settings
No,
and
it's
look at
Why
it.
are
No,
you
but it
making
looks
every breakable element in the game looks the same way, where it has this little
Blue to red health bar, and you want them to change it just for Haven?
Yes.
For that one area, which, by the way, the breakable doors look the exact same on Haven.
There's
Okay.
doors garage, yes, that are already like
Don't
that.
care. Wasn't
You
that
don't
big
care,
of
you
a
just
problem.
wanted to look-
Remove the
okay.
breakable.
All right, never mind. We
Just
can't
make
win.
it so you can't spam
We
it.
can't win
Don't
with
care.
TMB. We just can't win.
No,
Don't care.
can't beat
ugly.
enemies. Impossible to talk to. Let's talk about G2. Holy shit, we're an hour in. We're going to talk about the event. Let's fucking
talk about
go.
the tournament.
Some
5
have
minutes
called
on
this.
G2.
Some have called
It's
this
already
the
been
best,
lost in the past.
the most well-paced podcast in America. G2, they lose to Paper Rex for a 5th time
Jesus,
in a row.
I didn't
They
even know that.
complete the
Holy.
G2 classic of going out in 4th place. It was a good start to the series for them. The Haven, pretty hype. Saw the mirror Paper Rex comp played into Paper Rex, which I think they exposed some fraudulentness on it, but they still almost threw this map. They were stomping, and round 1 was a throw, round 12 was a throw. Honestly, they should have lost Haven, and this should have been a 2-0, but they survived just long enough to get stomped out the rest of the series.
The other way too, though, on Breeze, like if Paper Rex didn't win both pistols, both bonuses, G2 should have won that map.
Yes, but G2 also looked absent on Breeze. Until these,
in the gun rounds,
they
were doing well in the gun rounds. It was just like, look at the advantage you get from winning pistol and bonuses.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like, how the fuck do you even come back from it? The fact that it's a 13-9 when Paper Rex won both pistols, both bonuses is just, that's ludicrous. Like, that should be like a 13-7 at most scoreline. Do you know what I mean? So I want to throw a little bit of credit to G2 because I think that they were one of the teams that were coming in late to the meta reads, made the most adaptations out of a lot of the teams at this event in terms of what they were running. It went from completely controlled play to running double duelist and trying to get up to speed with it. And so, yeah, that map pool wasn't that good yet. When they went deep into the tournament and they got tested that way, sure, they got fucking battered, but they still made top 4 adapting on the fly, which I, like, over the course of a tournament, trying to get better and better and better. I think it's pretty good. It's a good showcase.
Yes, I completely agree,
Okay,
Brent.
this is the negative episode. I've got to be the beacon of positivity.
G2, no, they do deserve some credit because, like, yeah, I think they overall did pretty well. But
what is this aura of
why the
despair
fuck are they
that's
playing
infected it?
Corrode? They cannot play Corrode. They are terrible at this map, and they go to Corrode. And I understand Paper X hadn't been amazing up until that point on Corrode either.
I will shoot them bail here. Holy fuck, did Paper X look like lost children left at the fucking the giant Walmart looking for their parent in the hallway when they played Corrode. The All Gamers game, Paper X on Corrode, was some of the worst Valorant I've ever watched.
Really?
The Vi ahead of his util every round, dying first, them insistent to constantly take fights. Like, I think that they were just trolling. They were hard trolling that map and let it snowball massively.
I think Paper X had the best crowd of the event near the end.
Yeah, in the Final Four weekend after they fixed it. But when G2 let that map into the pool, that was the last match they watched of Corrode.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
No, I think I think the Corrode. It's the Corrode or bind. I mean, you know, Paper X didn't look that good on it.
Paper X is bind.
Hindsight analysis. I should have gone to bind, but
yes, but I think that's hindsight.
But it's hindsight, right? Yeah, we can say it now that they've lost. I think Paper X's Crowd, they clearly worked a ton on it over this event. Because they looked better and better and better. Against G2, I noticed their setups, they were always on defense side, putting the Viper and the Vice together for like hard, heavy stall against the double duelist. And then against NRG, they switched up the defensive setups. They started splitting those players up. There was very intentional decision making by Paper X with the way that they were changing their Crowd based on who they were playing against. So I don't know if they're the game versus all gamers, like the reason it looked so bad is because they just had a bad read in terms of how they wanted to play against them or what, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think part of the All Gamers games, I think they got overconfident after the start of that series and just thought that they could take every fight and win. And I think that they were not playing the as fundamentally sound and making clear decisions if this is how we want to play in the same way that I felt like they were in this series. Like, I thought their approach to the aggression in this series against G2 was really nice on defense.
Paper X definitely played well.
Yeah, they had a lot of really nice, I think especially re-clear rounds of picking their timing when they're reading that G2 is contacting back into a main to refight up with 3 players. There was a lot of rounds like that looked really nice from Paper X. This was a super, super clean map from them. I do want to bring... Oh, go ahead,
G2, though. Yeah, just to bring it back to G2 a little bit. Overall, I think my, end of tournament review of G2 was that, they still prove that individually, they still have really strong players, right? And I think they've gotten good enough in this meta where they can brawl it out, right? Like, they can create the chaos, especially with the whole Phoenix Hero. They looked very comfortable with that on Haven. But in that in that transition, they lost a lot of what their original flavor used to be, right? Which was a lot of the, they had really, really sound textbook macro and things like that. Because the meta's changed, you can't rely on that anymore. You lost that, and then they ran against, some of these specific teams, and they're realizing, okay, we got pretty good at this style, but there's like a whole nother level to this as we go deeper into the tournament. And so I feel like they were just kind of caught in the middle in terms of meta, I guess, interpretation for themselves, where they adapted fast enough within Americas, but they didn't actually end up discovering their very own color in it.
Yeah.
And you kind of had to rely on heroics to get through.
Let me argue this back to you then. I think that I agree with you 100% with how they went into this tournament. The first game against Paper Rex, where they're trying to hard hit sights into them, and like Envy is just sitting Heaven Split. He's like, oh, guys, they're double duelists. Like, I'm going to throw the same haunt every round, and they're never going to be able to break, and we're going to cook them. I think that was like an example of G2 that did not look like they could play this style to this level. We're trying to go full into the aggression, which they stumped teams in Americas with. But I think they fixed it a lot throughout this tournament. I'll take the Nongshim game, for example. Obviously, they got blasted on Corrode that map. But I think the Abyss, they showed a really great balance of showing aggressive rounds and then calling fakes, playing slow rounds, and waiting and punishing the aggression. I think on the split as well in that series,
They almost won
they
it.
really should have won that split. They were so close to the comeback. Remember, it was Dombi actually getting completely shut down with G2 having good approaches to anchoring and fighting in smokes and playing close and denying his expected pathing. It was only like a round 22 2K, if I remember, from Dombi, where he pathed around the side instead, that got them back into that game. And I think even like the BBL game as well showed great prep, great control from them, and it was the same in the Paper X game with the ideas they had going into Haven. I actually thought that they found that balance, and I liked the style they were playing. To me, though, the Breeze and Corrode looked like they just like once it ever got chaotic, they just could not individually compete with Paper X, like whatsoever, and then it horrifically snowballed.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you that they evolved. I wasn't trying to say that, like they kind of figured it out, but they weren't good at it at all. I guess I just meant that I couldn't really find the same charm. So, the old G2 was, okay, the casual viewers hated watching them, but certain analysts loved watching them because they played so, they clearly had a very strong understanding of the textbook VALORANT, the macro, and things like that. And you could kind of see that click. And whereas here, I agree with you, like they were throwing in fakes, they were still playing whatever macro they could, especially against, I think it was good against specifically Nongshim, because Nongshim very much doesn't do that at all, right? And so it clearly caught the Nongshim boys off guard. But that felt more like okay, against this team this works type of thing, rather than like I see what G2 is trying to do for themselves. Like this is their new color, this is their new interpretation, this is overall the direction they want to take the game. And so I guess I'm just trying to kind of holding the older G2s in much higher regard. So I'm just like, okay, I didn't quite find that same characteristic. They still played well and adapted to whatever they could throughout this tournament, but I think that's also perhaps why they ended up falling short.
How much do we bite into them being the only team to take a map off Nongshim this tournament? Does that mean anything?
I mean, how much credit do you want to give to Naos for being the last team to beat Nongshim in a match?
Yeah.
True.
They're just, I don't know. I think they're onto something. I think they've won in terms of the patch as well, because if they buffed initiators again, I think that's a direct nerf to the heavy scoped playstyle that we're seeing teams opt into, because if you have a good player with the outlaw operator, it's really good for your mid rounding, because you can set them up nice and early. Get them on deep lines. It simplifies calling. But if initiators were buffed again, that wouldn't be as viable. They'd be better at pushing operators offline for one, but also just wouldn't be as necessary. So I think they've kind of won with that aspect, because it's when I'm watching them play, Baby Bay as a player has done a great job, I think, catching up as much as he can in a short amount of time. But the lack of reps of official pro play clearly still show, I think, when he's in clutch scenarios and things like that. But his scoping is fantastic. Like, the guy can still shoot. He can aim incredibly well with the outlaw and operator. So I think they're going to be fine. I think they'll just find a way. The meta, whatever the hell they want to play. Jogan was a fantastic Neon, if Neon is the approach that teams want to take moving forwards after Euros.
I was very unimpressed with Jaws Neon this event.
Well, that's okay.
I thought he was one of the weaker dive players in this tournament.
You're about to hear from Alice.
No. Can you, don't, Bren, we're not talking about Jaw right now. Don't, Alice.
Well, we are.
Okay.
We just brought it up, didn't we?
No. Shh. Just in your house, we're not.
We just brought it up.
Here's
the thing.
It's okay. I'm going to
G2's style, like Troba said, they are stuck in this transitionary period where they are they've just been, for 2 years of their life, they've had Jorgamo as a fucking glorified drone that can maybe kill people occasionally with no util.
Yes.
And I think still Jorgamo hasn't broken out of that mentality personally. He'll send it, but he's still the first one sending it, and the rest of the team isn't really in sync to be able to capitalize off his space. Not to the same level as some of these teams have already been living and breathing double duelist. I think that was clear to me when I was watching them play, is that that's still the case. And of course, they're going to be made to be looking a lot worse. But Jogs, are we forgetting the fact that Jogs Neon, when Neon was meta for that very short stint, he was actually breaking their players' ankles.
Yes, but I think that Neon now is very different from the way that Neon was played then. When Neon was played then in 2023, it was a double initiator meta where it was set up with Breach. Neon was the one who went in, followed up on players who were getting bullied by initiator utility, and got the opening kills. Neon now, at its peak, the way that Dombey, for example, is playing it, is that character where when you're talking about taking the turns and how Neon breaks that Chopra earlier in the episode, her job is to go in and create the first bit of space, pull crosshairs, and then tuck in, wait for the teammates to Troid through, and then swing. It is this careful balancing act of taking a bit of space, pausing as to not overheat to give time for your teammates, fighting again, and then pausing and finding that balance throughout, which is exceptionally hard to hit correctly. Even among the players at this event, there was very few that had that level of mastery. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons Nongshim won, because they had the best Neon at doing that exact style. I did not see that really from Jaw this tournament. I thought when he hard entried, it still looked to me in a lot of rounds like he was playing that older style where Neon could just full send it behind initiator utility. And very often that would just lead to him dying first and getting traded, or maybe he gets the kill and then they get in. I was not impressed. I think that if they're going to actually win a trophy and succeed, especially now in what we're expecting to continue to be a Neon meta, we need to see a lot more from Jaw. And I think we need to see his approach and the team's approach to actually pathing into sites get a little more updated to the times.
Yeah, I think they almost need to if they're playing Neon, they need to unlearn some of the things that they've been doing for the past couple of years, because they're so used to we're swinging out of smoke or swinging around a corner, let's do it together. But I think when you watch, for instance, Danby, Nongshim aren't that. They're Danby, you go run around and jump around, and everyone look at you. And this isn't just for Psyx, this is for just if you're clearing a corner, right? And just using that neon fuel as you go jump around out of a smoke, and then we'll swing as everyone is looking at you. But there were multiple times where I'm noticing G2, that even when they're playing Neon, they're just normal swinging, double swinging, which again, isn't necessarily always a problem. But when it's a Yoru with an op, that is a problem sometimes, because they kill you in TP and there were multiple instances I think when G2 suffered from that. I think for G2 in this tournament though, it's actually difficult to kind of I think the jury is still out on whether this was good or bad for G2, because I think on the one hand it's G2 have been to the past I think 6 internationals in a row, right? That's pretty crazy and impressive, right? So doing anything Americas doesn't matter for G2, right? They won all 3 stages in Americas last year. That doesn't matter. It's only the internationals that matter.
Well, it does matter to a degree.
Does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
I think it's.
I mean,
If you're an Americans caster and you want to hype the region?
It's a mindset that we've inherited from CS, where the only thing that matters is lifting the major trophies, which is true.
But G2,
I think to the players, Bren, what matters now is clear. Obviously, it means something to win Americas, and that's big.
Just
and I
any
think especially
regional
winning
trophy.
stage 2 and being the champion. Yes, I agree, and I'm not trying to diminish that. But I think if we're trying to rate what we want to see from the reason fans are bored of this team, even though they're one of the most consistent squads of the last 2 years, is because they do this every time. They make top 4, they look pretty good, and then they lose in the final weekend, and they go home, and they don't have an expectation of ever lifting trophies. And I think that's where people have gotten sick of them. So
I think the caveat this time, though, is Baby Bay, and it's the first Baby Bay tournament.
Yeah,
that's the caveat.
It's a new
this time.
roster.
Let me ask this then. The sell of Jonah P getting replaced by Baby Bay was that this was the thing they needed to push them over the line to win trophies. Obviously, it's only their first event. They had a good result. They made top 4. Baby Bay had some good moments, but he also had some pretty rough ones, I think, especially in that Paper Rex game. Looking at this for our first 3 months of Baby Bay here, is this an upgrade? Is this G2 more likely to lift a trophy? And do we think they can do that with their current roster in the future?
I think it's hard to tell because I think there's a lot of intangibles that rely. I know, really, like in terms of just like in this current meta, yeah, if it continued, I think they could. But you know, the value that Baby Bay brings outside of the scopes, and then what Jonah P used to bring, I think a lot of that is intangibles. We know both of them bring those intangibles, but it's hard to put that numerically. So I'm gonna say that the jury's still out. I'm willing to wait the whole year. But I agree. I get what everyone's saying because basically G2 is the new DRX, right? They keep dominating their own region and then they go to international and they get kind of close and then they can't close it out. And yes, they should still deserve their flowers. It's still an incredible record, but fans will be fans and will say we're sick of not lifting trophies and that being our brand. And so it is kind of the onus is on G2 to finally lift a trophy at some point this year.
Yeah, and I do have great respect for the, you know, if the org management and the players can be like, no, this is already a good result and we can recognize that and we are just going to stay the course and do that. But I think we should engage with it because this is what a lot of the community discourse is. Other two of you, do you align with Chobra in that perspective? TMV, I know you've been the negative one this episode. Do you have a harsher take? Do you have a harsher take? Can they win a trophy with Baby Bay?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
Of course they can. I think that's of course they can. I think this is the annoying thing about G2 though is I would say like their chances are like roughly the same.
No, they're going to get better as time goes on. Yeah, because kickoff was.
You don't think like with Jonah
every
B,
year
it
the
would be
beginning
roughly the same?
Kickoff, the tournaments of kickoff comes down to who has the best read on the given patch at a given time. There's no 5 weeks of group stage matches where you get to see what everybody else is running. You literally have a do or die tournament where you have to figure it out or you don't get to go. And even then, you're still figuring it out. And G2, they made top 4 with half their map pool being dog shit and them changing up comps on a regular basis. They can clearly build on this if they get more reps. And the fact that I don't think the scoping meta is going anywhere as well. If you told me that Initiator was going back to 40 seconds timers, I'd be like, yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do it now because opping is going to be negated to a degree. It's not going to be as viable anymore. Overall, not much has actually changed in the grand scheme of things. If anything, it should be better for G2. Euro's out of the fucking meta. Like, this is a character that they've either Jorg has said that he's tired of playing, or when they put Bebe onto it, he doesn't look comfortable because he doesn't have the reps, whatever else that comes with it. So this should be the best time. Now they at least have time to figure out what the new style is, what the new meta is, and it still plays into some of their strengths. Like, this should be, if they don't lift the trophy, next tournament, sure, call them out. But I still think getting top 4 for any team is an important accolade. Like, when I think about tournaments and top 4 finishes for teams, I think, well, maybe if they did this, maybe if they did this slightly differently, the narratives completely shift and change. If you make top 4, I think that shows an ability in that moment to potentially go the distance, but it's just about on a given day. There's so many different fucking variables
but to that point, Brent,
included.
people would use that argument against you and say, well, then why the fuck did you make a roster change? If you're saying it was just a
I don't know.
little thing,
to this day, I don't know because I didn't necessarily agree with the G2 roster
You didn't do it.
I didn't do it, and also I don't know. They didn't really give. They were fucking vague post maxing.
Bren fired Jonah P.
That was fucked up for you, Bren, to be fair.
His Overwatch friend
Dude, it's crazy.
into the roster.
Just because he beat you in Overwatch 1v1,
I know.
Get him on G2.
Dude, it's fucked, man.
Just because he was a better widow.
Dude, I don't know, but this is my point. Like,
Caster
people,
buddy.
obviously, people look towards the trophies. They're the shiniest things. Are the things that
He's
every
gonna get
player
Josh
is
signed
talking
to
about.
DFM next year, so he
Yeah,
has
well.
fake big.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can finish your thought.
I didn't have a point other than just I think I get
what you're saying.
It's
You
rife
don't
for
want
criticism post
Yeah.
the next Masters. Like after that point, if they don't do anything, sure, fucking criticize them as much as you want. But kickoff is such just a variable event at times where it just comes down to, did you have the best read? Could you flesh out your map pool enough with the right read where you're not just on the fly? Like, they changed the corrode comp from one day to the next with their last match.
Sure.
Like, it's tough if you don't have a fleshed out map pool to win any event.
I think if this team is going to win a trophy, I think Baby Bay needs to show that he can show up in big games and perform as well as he did in Americas. I think we're shooting him some bail, rightfully so, because it was his first tournament. They made top 4. He played pretty well and throughout that. But I still think in the big games, compared to the peak that we know he can hit, especially when he's playing the scopes, I think there was some disappointment. I look at the Paper Rex game, for example, Round 1, it's a 2v1, comes down for a 1-on-1, he whiffs. Round 12, it's the same thing. A whiffed off shot leads to a 3v1 loss. Like, I'm not saying these things because I don't believe that Dre's a player who can do that or achieve these heights. I just think that this tournament today, to me, he did not prove that he can show up in the big games where G2 have always struggled. The difference between old G2 and this G2 was supposed to be that they're going to show up in these big games and they're going to continue to perform, and he's going to bring that vibe. And I have no doubt he's bringing that energy and he's keeping the team together and doing all these things that we know he's doing behind the scenes and they've lauded him for doing. But I still think that more needs to be shown on that individual level when the top 4 is teams like Nongshim, teams like Paper Rex that will punish these little mistakes. I think they can win a trophy as is. I'm not saying that they should change anything or do anything, but I'm saying that there is still, I think, more to prove for him individually to show that this is a roster that actually can lift trophies this year. And I think that I also put that on Jaw with what we're talking about to find his form again in the current duelist meta. I think that's going to be really important for them stepping up.
I'll leave it at that, so we're not spending another hour on the topic. But I think the onus is on the rest of the team, personally.
You think so?
Yeah. Because they're just not playing off the space.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just, when I watch them play, they don't play off the space. They don't take advantage of it compared to other teams.
I think that's a bigger problem.
NRG.
I'm willing to wait and see.
NRG.
How about we talk about NRG?
You might need to pick up the
yeah.
pace a bit here.
Yeah.
You want to have a
people have to
4-hour
go?
episode?
Okay. Yeah. Let's
Well,
go.
I've only been on a
NRG,
flight
I
for
love
30
NRG.
hours
for
and
G2.
stayed
Let's
up.
talk about energy. Chobra energy.
20 seconds.
That's my. Well, I'm saving
20
time. I'm not
seconds.
giving a long setup. Go.
Okay, I honestly thought that I actually had kind of bigger hopes for them in terms of their performance of the final weekend, just because I've always held NRG in very high regard. I thought if anyone could do it as single duelists, they could do it, and they tried, but I think they also just realized that it just wasn't going to be enough, right? Once double duelist teams figure out just how fast and hard they can hit sites, it gets a little bit hard to handle, and the numbers game just isn't on your side. I also think Mata just didn't have his peak performance at the worst timing possible. I mean, normally I think gets underpraised. Like, he should be getting praised more for the whole rest of the year and every other match they played. And then this final weekend was just like the one time he actually falters a little bit, and it's at the worst time at an international tournament. So that one hurts for Mata, I think.
Yeah, I think, like, it's quite interesting, right? Like, I think, obviously, we talk about NRG, we often talk about their coaching staff and the impact that they have on the team. And I think, particularly when you're early in a season, right, and maybe you don't have, like, a fully fleshed out map pool, I think we saw that maybe come to bite them a little bit as well. I didn't like against Paper Rex, the Corrode Sky pick. Yeah, I don't know what's infested people in Americas. I mean, maybe now with the buff, like, yeah, sure, but, like, I don't know why America's teams are so obsessed with playing Sky on Corrode.
I think it's just that NRG like double drones. So
yeah, I
rather than
guess.
the KO, I think they wanted the dog, and I wanted flashes to fight through the smokes. That was my take on it.
Yeah.
But
That was my read as well. That Ethan just really likes, even in this meta. I think that they felt like playing against Paper X, who on their Corrode, on their defensive side, they love testing extremities and either posting the op or going for these like trap play reclears with 3 players on extremities. I imagine the idea was just to have another tool for that reclear, and on defense to have 3 info tools for the fast rotates. I don't love this guy, but
I don't think it would have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. Let's be real.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think so.
They were going to lose on Corrode probably no matter what comp they played. But I think it does kind of, like, yeah, I think that the map pool was probably the bigger concern in that lower final when, like, they went to Pearl, and obviously that Pearl is exceptional. You know, I mean, considering Nongshim banned Pearl, they almost certainly are the best Pearl team in the world, right? And then they lost on Split, which is fair enough. Before Nongshim game, you know, we thought Paper Rex had won 5 splits in a row at that point, I think. But then, like, their next pick was Corrode. That was maybe the map they thought had the best chance, and kind of got slapped. And then, you know, we go to Breeze, and, you know, it starts off really poorly as well. I think that just kind of caught up to them a bit. They didn't have it. But honestly, I mean, it is kind kind of, and honestly, we should be thankful that, I mean, one, yeah, they did play basically all of the good games in this tournament for the most part. And secondly, they did it doing a different style, right? They were kind of playing on hard mode in a way, which I think, and what's so great is like, it would have been actually, I think, quite easy, like for NRG, you know, they won champs. We've seen a lot of teams who win champs then really struggle, you know, afterwards for various reasons, right? And but they actually were good, right? Like we've actually finally got a champs winner.
Literally every other team that is won champions has fallen to the curse and either had significant roster moves or never made another global event. The closest was Loud, who went on to the lock-in oh my god, they went lock-in finals, but they lost two of their key players and had to pick up Tui's and Kaunzin, whereas NRG only had that one move. I mean, I think
Kiko was amazing as well.
Yes, he especially towards the end of this tournament, he stepped up massively. I think in these games, and I think one of the key successes for them was NRG's ability to adapt their comps in a way that I don't think they could have before. The fact that they can slap him on the Raze or the Jet on their double duelist maps and he can look good there. They can put him on the Killjoy on Pearl. He can do so much for them. I was really impressed with Kiko. I thought that he unlocked a lot of opportunities for them and also played just as good as he did like at his peak on Liquid on this team, on a much bigger stage than he was competing with that roster. That was like one of my biggest takeaways for NRG. Number one, Kiko is excellent. Number two, I think this is legitimately just the most resilient team in the game. Their ability to come back is insane. We pulled this stat on the desk for this. This was going into the Paper Rex series. Their record in games that are 2-run games, so either a 13-11 or an overtime, in the last year, 2025 and 2026, I believe that record was 14-2 at global events. They win every close game. They are ridiculously good at coming up with these overtimes. And I think
it's funny, one of the losses is the Fnatic crazy comeback on Abyss.
Yes.
That's one of the losses that they have.
Yeah. That is insane. Wow.
NRG are going to be pretty suited as well moving forwards in the meta. The reason why we don't see double trophy lift so much is because it puts a target on your back.
Yeah.
It just always puts a target on your back. And I think at their champs run, people weren't really cognizant. They weren't aware of the way that NRG won, which came from incredible coach preparation. One of these little details of the players and the work that the individual players would put in, like Brooks learning an individual lineup just to say fuck you. Like that level of detail that they look at and approach the game. People now know how NRG a click. Even if you know it, it's hard to work around it. As proven, I think they did incredibly well over the course of this tournament. But now people are more aware of the way that they win as a team, and the meta didn't really suit them too much. But I think, regardless of that, they made top 4 still, man. They were like, I think if they won the Nongshim game, they would have been favored to win the grand finals. That's what I was saying on the last episode. Because they would double map ban advantage to a team like that, where they can specifically point the direction of the series in whatever direction they want to go in. That's incredibly powerful for a team like NRG. So they in a different world, we could be looking at them as back-to-back winners. But even outside of that, like thinking about how the meta shifts is going to be happening, Sky just got buffed. Ethan is one of the best of flash initiators in the game, easily, without a doubt in my fucking mind. Like they're going to be set up really well, I think, moving into stage 1.
Yeah.
It is such a good position for them to be in as well. I thought that the timeouts throughout this tournament were really good. You were glazing Bonkar some with the pre-prep stuff, but there was a lot of games where they really had to go in and sight read and figure out shit on the fly. For example, the second Paper Rex game, they had 2 new comps on both of those maps, and the bind comp in particular was such a interesting one from Paper Rex that I don't think you would have expected. Fucking Sky Gecko Harbor. They go down and they lose the pistol. Bunker calls a timeout after round 2. And I think from then on out, the attack side for NRG, they looked so ready for these aggro plays out of the cove that Paper Rex was throwing. They looked so prepared for how to kind of deal with the flood retakes that they were doing and fighting with that utility and taking the right pauses to then wait and refight. That's what I loved about them this tournament, really. In a meta that's so chaotic where so many teams are just getting like overwhelmed by fast pressure, I think NRG does such a good job of knowing when in these mid rounds to just freeze, wait for your opponent's reaction, and punish it. And
they got better and better at that as well.
They absolutely improved throughout the tournament. Like, I'm 100% on board with you. I think if they won the upper final, they would have won the tournament. Credit to Nongshim for winning that game, and obviously for playing incredible in the final. But yeah, it was rough to see them crumble the way they did in the Paper X series, but I'm still walking away thoroughly impressed by NRG and feeling like the patch changes will just make them even stronger after this.
Yeah.
That's
Kind of
NRG.
Wait,
Let's talk
That's NRG.
about
That's NRG.
10 minutes
one
on a
of our
segment?
two
Wait a minute.
finalists, and that's Paper X, the team that
Well, we'll
cooked
be here for
NRG
an
in this
hour
game.
now.
They had a hell of a journey from the 3rd seed from Pacific, not playing super well in their region, to a turbulent run-up through the Swiss stage, losing a map to all gamers, to nearly look like they're going to get eliminated by the Chinese #1 seed on Pearl, to then rolling the two Americas teams in the latter parts of these series and going on to the final. Let's start there before we talk about the final against Nongshim and talk a little bit about the Paper Rex perspective of the G2 and the NRG game. Because in both of these, this was them losing map 1 against an opponent that looked like they had a really good read on them, in particular prep, to then going to the next map and looking so good at the decisions they're making and where to fight, snowballing the games, having insane individual form, and stomping their way into that final.
Yeah. I think one of the things that PaperX did really well at this event, with the exception of the grand finals, was they were getting ahead of teams in terms of how they wanted to play. So whether it was G2 or NRG, stylistically. And then with the NRG game as well, post timeouts, they were predicting how NRG would react to them and then getting one step in front of that. And what I mean is, like, they would, like, I think they're just very aware of their tendencies and how NRG like to call off the back of the timeouts. I thought they did that exceptionally well, actually, in that game. And that's why it was so disappointing, like, going into the grand finals and seeing how they played. Because I was gearing up for an absolute banger match, to be honest, like, in terms of the styles and everything. Because it felt like, I think PaperX did a fantastic job, like, from the coaching department. And yeah, I don't know. It was.
Well, it was also like 2 of the only like 4 close games at this tournament were NRG Paper X, so we thought third time it's gonna repeat.
Yeah. I think that in these first games, it really did feel, and I think why so many people were perhaps disappointed, apart from Chobra. Obviously, Paper X are one of kind of the iconic, perhaps the iconic team
I'm
of
not
VALORANT.
disappointed.
Okay,
Is this the community narrative?
No, what I was gonna say is, because
yeah.
Paper Rex are Paper Rex, a lot of people ended up disappointed, because when they're playing these games and you're watching them, you are seeing them in real time start to look like the Paper Rex that is locking in. And I feel a lot of people went into that game. I think they on the grand final, you ran a thing of like, oh, who's going to win Masters Santiago, Nongshim or Paper Rex? It's like 85% Paper Rex or whatever, right? The people were locked in of like, this is the narrative of the tournament. Paper Rex have slowly kind of figured this out, and they're, coalescing at the right time. And that made the grand finals even more of a disappointment, I think, because it felt like this, like, the train, to use Sliggy's, terminology, the train was gathering a lot of steam.
Yes,
right?
they had just dominated like literally 3 maps in a row against NRG, looking in like peak individual form, looking like they had the NRG game, that corrode in particular. I think that to me was like the best example of what you were bringing up, Bren, about them like knowing how to fight into their opponents. The timings they were
completely
taking
changed the defensive
to
setup.
Refight was so and it was
completely
exactly
changed
against NRG's game style. Like the way Ethan wanted to call that attack got ruined by the timings Paper X was aggressing in that game, and the prep looked on point, and then it was like fucking something in Jing after being bums in the Swiss stage, looking like absolute gods in this top 4.
Yeah.
People are not going to appreciate how hard that is to completely change the way. Your defensive side is usually going to be the most fleshed out in terms of you need to be here, here, here. This is where your sentinel needs to be setting up. Everybody needs to know it ahead of time, but to do that from one day to the next and change it up entirely just to match the play style of the team you're up against is insanely tough. I was so impressed with their Crow defense over the course of this tournament when it got later, like genuinely so. But yeah, I mean, this is why I don't know if I want to like the finals loss. I don't know what to even attribute it to be honest, because I feel like they had to blow in a lot of those maps. They had to blow like both of their timeouts within the first half, especially on map 2 and map 3, to the point where there could be no more interjection. We were just literally watching like the camera of Alex just slowly losing his fucking mind and hope, like the real time watching. You can see when this man's heart breaks, like
IRL.
Like it was that was heartbreaking to watch just in general. Like I don't know if it was just I don't know, did the players just mentally collapse or what?
I think so, right? I mean, you talk about like mental collapse and mental boom and whatnot, but I really think that's it because sure, double map ban advantage for Nongshim, etc. But you'd imagine Split would have at least been more competitive, even if it was a 3-0, right? Like Kuroda's very competitive, and then you just see it crumble, and you see the timeouts not having impact, although they've had tremendous impact for the whole rest of the tournament. And I think. You have to credit it to that. So despite them being one of the most experienced in terms of internationals and stage time, right? I was talking with Panda during the event and just asking him, like, because how loud and energetic the Santiago crowd was. I was like, how are the players, handling that? And he was like, well, like a lot of them have been to 13 internationals, 11 internationals, and they're kind of taking it in stride. They're kind of loving it. And I was like, okay, yeah, you guys are super experienced. But then you consider,
Panda is
I know
their
when
performance coach, right?
Their performance coach, yeah. And then when their new assistant coach for this year had put out a tweet after the event, just kind of putting things into perspective, saying it's not an excuse, just a fact. And counting kickoff, they played 913 rounds. Nongshim only played 465. The shocking part about this is Paper Rex played 481 rounds at Santiago alone. So they played more rounds at Santiago than we did at Nongshim since kickoff, right? And yeah, sure, they had, the lower bracket, the Swiss stage, all that. But you have to put that into perspective of like, no matter how experienced you are, the grind and being able to do what you guys just mentioned, adapting their setups, things that don't change easily day to day to new teams, match after match. And then trying to do that is a ridiculously difficult task. And I think you have to still give props to the players for eventually digesting that, and to the coaching staff, all of them, Alex, Wendler, and Panda, for being able to manage that enough to get to the grand finals. Because I think many teams, most teams, wouldn't even get that close if you're under that much load.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, there's an easy way to avoid that. You can just not lose earlier on.
Oh, so simple,
listen,
actually.
I wasn't gonna say it. But
What a good idea.
This one
there
simple
might have been a
trick,
skill
huh?
issue. But
Just win.
Just win.
No, I don't know. I'm not really tapped into the fan culture these days of Valorant because I tend to stay away from social media. But from what people are telling me, when I was co-streaming and talking about how insane the Paper X fans are, I really hope for the love of God those players aren't on social media or just not looking at it in general. Because it's only going to, if it was a mental crumble towards a collapse like the end of that grand finals, the only thing that's going to make it worse is thinking about all that added pressure of the fans even more. That's never going to let you lift a trophy ever again, to be honest, because that's the only thing that's going to be weighing at the back of your mind when you should be focusing on the game.
I think
Like,
if they were going to
at
get crushed by
this
the fan
point-
pressure, it would have happened in the 4 other finals they've already lost.
Like at this point, though, I'm so grateful they won Toronto. Imagine had they lost that grand final and then they lose this one as well.
I
like,
was
in this
thinking,
fashion.
imagine how awesome it would be if
Imagine.
they hadn't won Toronto.
Oh,
and
Why
this
would
was
you-
the
why would you think
evil.
that?
You're evil.
The Josh narrative. Josh was right. Everyone hated the
Oh,
nasty
you're gonna
ball
say
man
cut for
saying
Satan now,
their
aren't
narrative.
you?
They're always so, imagine they lose this final. They go on there looking good
No,
again. It
that
was
would
so
be-
close to redemption, and then they go to champions and they win. It'd be so sick. It'd be so sick.
but
But
what
instead,
matters
it's
that?
just
why would you
they won
wish that upon the
Masters.
players?
Yeah. This is the problem, though, Mimi, with what you say. Like, oh, they win champs. It's like
Funny.
it doesn't end. VCT doesn't end.
It'd be funny.
You can't.
It'd be
It's
funny.
not funny.
what do you mean?
It's not funny.
Oh
Don't
my
wish
God.
that upon
No,
the
I'd
players.
I'd feel
It's
very
fine.
bad for them personally, but I'm just a
You're
little
invested
narrative
in the
maxer,
narrative.
Brent. I'm
You're
just
invested
a
in
little
the
I'm just a
narrative
narrative
maxer.
lover,
But we
Brent.
Constant
No,
failure
the-
narrative.
The fruition happened at Toronto. Why can't we just accept that? It was
Yeah.
good. It was a good.
It was
yeah,
good.
it's the same. Like, sure, champion stage is bigger, but it would have been
Sure,
the same
but what's the next
anyway.
arc?
It
What's
would've
the
been
next
same.
arc?
What do you mean the next arc? The next arc is Nongshim having 3 kids
if-
grinding out ESL Clash of Nations
Yeah.
since they were underage and
Yeah.
then going through
No, I mean
Premier and
the
Ascension.
next Paper X arc.
The
We're
Paper X arc?
rehashing old
Next-
seasons. We're re-airing
I think
episodes. with
Paper
this
X still
losing the
have-
Well, maybe they go on a lose streak again. Maybe they lose
Yeah,
the next
maybe
one.
they'll go on it.
Still.
Yeah, and then they'll have to bring up the next version of their better train, and now it'll be Maglift or
Yeah.
whatever, and then they'll go
Yeah.
faster. That's the next arc.
And
This
then
team
they
still
win. They win
for it.
Shanghai with the.
They have
Yeah,
a
it just
claim.
takes 200 episodes, Just wait for it.
Yeah, no,
They
I'm
have a
down.
claim to being-
I'm in it for the long run.
one of the best teams of all time.
Yes.
Still,
I think.
Yes.
they
Oh,
count-
Mimi, I
yes.
thought your take on the desk was if they would have won that tournament, they would have overtaken Fnatic. You were like, I'm not sure. Maybe
No, I don't
not."
think they would have.
I think you're so wrong.
Oh,
They definitely would have.
no.
They would
I
be
think
number
they would've.
one,
the
clearly.
core of players that they've maintained. They've always had a core of 3 players
Sure.
since 2020. got when? Like 2022?
2021?
I don't even know. Like
2022.
genuine. Like how many?
Jing.
Yeah.
That's
Jing
insanity
joined
to me because
2022, I think.
It is crazy that they've
it's
been
crazy.
together
You
that
can't
long.
like that level of consistency in a game like Valorant where it is constantly changing. We're not talking CS here. We're not talking a game that is stagnant in terms of the meta development usually, and it's
Oh, I
like
thought we were talking about Overwatch.
1 year or 2 year. Dude, if
Oh,
we were, I
shit.
mean, completely different matters. But that level of consistency is insane from a team. It's just that the overarching, the thing that's blinding everybody is, of course, how they've just crashed out of multiple finals. But the reality is, dude, if you're a fucking pro player, you're dreaming of having that level of consistency like Paper Rex are having as a team. Like that's
Yeah, for sure.
It's unbelievable.
They are I was looking up the stats side of it. They, with this top 4 placement, they did overtake Fnatic with being the team that's been in the most top 4s of anyone in Valorant, which is really incredible for them. I said that take still because I want to see them be like the second team to do like a back-to-back and actually go on a run for me to like really, really feel that way. I think that winning this would have tied them with Fnatic in my head, and like another top 4 or another like deep run like that would have pushed it over. I was being a pedant with that take, and I stand by my pedantry, but it doesn't take away from the fact of just how ridiculously consistent this team is. For me, one of the big takeaways of the event was also how great Envy was this tournament. I think he did way more with the same role and essentially the same setup than Patman did that last year. And I'm not saying that to shit on Patman as a player. I just think that Envy did such a great job of balancing, making his own plays, and having the rounds where he's having individual impact and being able to take risks without ever seeming like he's the guy who's overextending and being a liability for the team. And that is so impressive to me because in Paper Rex, you're on a team with some of the greatest psychos in the video game, and you're still managing to find the rounds where you're like individually making the play and making the difference and still not inting away rounds. Really, really, really great stuff from him. His Yuto was on point this tournament too. He looked like such a good upgrade for this team in my mind.
I mean, I don't want to get into the whole is it a direct upgrade or not, right? Because it's
Come on,
just
Chobik.
not
Yes
worth
or
it.
no. We don't actually have time, so you're gonna have to say yes or no.
The robots have shut him down. They don't want him. They don't want to hear his take.
Oh wow, he's just actually asleep.
No, but I just want to give Envy his flowers, okay? We can do that without having to compare everything every time. We can just appreciate that he played really well and he did more than his job. I think that's the core thing. He did more than his job. His only given job would have been to just be
Patman
that
did
support.
his job.
Yeah.
I think he did a little
I think
more.
both of them.
I'm not trying to push a toxic work culture. I'm not saying you got to do 120%, but I think he did 120% this tournament.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, I think
Who was
Envy did
slacking then?
120%. Yeah, because clearly they didn't cross the finish line,
Yeah.
so somebody was slacking.
They didn't hit the KPS. This team is also, just to look towards the future for a second, I think gonna, of course, as they always have with being consistent throughout metas, be in a great place with the changes coming in. Put Jing on the Phoenix every map, put it in the bag, let's go. Like, I think that the way they play, the way that they're constantly changing their comps and able to switch up their style, like, it's just going to be another position where I think the meta is going to really suit them. And I hope we get to see them play Nongshim again in
We do.
Oh,
they're in the
we
same
will.
group.
They're in the same
It's the
group,
next
aren't they?
match.
Oh,
Isn't it?
yeah,
That's
they're
so
in the
sick.
opening match. Well, the
That's
second
so
day.
sick.
Yeah. You know what's
That's too
hilarious? A little behind the scenes. So we found out about the schedule. The teams found out like before the grand finals happened, but they were like, "Don't tell the players in case it gets to their head about like we have to rematch these guys, win or lose." So they just bottled it up and just didn't tell anyone except for the head coach, Silkout on. And
That's
he was
very
like,
funny.
"What? We have to play them again?" And we are like, "Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just think about the grand finals. Just get through this, and then we'll get to stage one." But yeah, so they'll be playing in their opening match.
That's an exciting one to
banger
look
game.
forward
That'll be
to.
good. Yeah.
Let's wrap up the episode then. We talked about Nongshim at the beginning.
What?
Let's what?
Oh, I
Spoiler
thought you were
alert.
like, let's just.
No, I mean, I'm
let's
setting
just
up
get through it.
continuing
to
I was
talk
like,
about
I've
it.
been
I've been
up
beginning.
I've been
Never
up for freaking
mind.
like 30 hours just for this.
The
You're just
trauma
gonna
in your
say-
eyes when I
Yeah.
when I
What?
said what?
What time is it there for you, Trover?
Walter White in the back of the car, fucking banging on. No, I've been waiting.
Trover stays up till 5 a.m. or something.
Yeah, 6 a.m. now. I'm
6
just a
a.m.
little tired. just a little tired. All right, I waited for this. But give me 1
Here's your
second. Give me
moment.
1 second because got a call coming. 네, 여보세요? 네네네. 대표님 안녕하세요. 플랫챗에요. 플랫챗에 지금 코트. 잠시만요. Kurt, I think they're trying to tap into the podcast here on a different line. Can you check any of your signals?
Brent, can you translate for us?
Hello?
I'm best new in the world. 마스터즈 하기 전까지만 해도 많은 분들이 농심이 어떤 팀이냐, 어떤가 하는 팀이냐 이렇게 잘 모르셨을 텐데 이제 저희가 우승함으로써 각인시켜드렸으니까 앞으로도 많은 응원해주시면 계속해서 재밌는 모습 보여드리겠습니다. 감사합니다. 자, 저희 마스터즈 우승했고요. 믿어준 분들 전부 감사드리고 믿지 않으신 분들도 있겠지만 이제 앞으로 믿어주시면 감사하겠습니다. 더 잘할 수 있으니까 많이 봐주세요. 안녕.
Hello, it's not Cross, it's X-Ross. Respect my name. I'll be back.
RB back.
Respect my name.
Just so you guys know.
Say my name.
X-Ross was like he was complaining the whole event because most of the Chilean fans would just read it as like a crossing sign or something on a street, right? And so they were like, "Cross, we love you, Cross, like Cross." And then he'd always come back. He's too shy to like tell them, and then he'd always come backstage and he'd be like, "But it's not Cross. It's X-Ross." And we're like, no, we know.
That's amazing.
God, dude, they deserve all the success they could possibly deserve from this, honestly.
They're such a likable team.
This is, as much as we've been talking like, top 4, anybody could have won. I think NRG would have won. Like, I don't want to discredit anything here because there is no team that can imitate what they did at this event or what they have been doing, to be honest, to continue that. And the storyline is sick. It empowers the entire idea of like a path to pro that Riot are trying to go through with Premier to Ascension. They should be fucking plastering Nongshim's faces onto every piece of promotional media, to be honest, for their esport. I swear to fucking God. And I think they've been underselling it to a degree. I don't think they've been selling it enough going into any of this, man. They genuinely need to just hammer this shit home because this is what they want, man. You want players that were playing from their bedroom that ended up lifting a trophy a few years later that haven't stopped playing together. Like, that is crazy.
You want me to give you a little bit extra on that? Is Ivy. So what is it? Donby and Francis used to play like soccer. I think Donby a little bit more casually, but both of them used to play soccer, but they were still into gaming and Valorant.
Is this the trivia test?
Was actually this is part of the trivia test. Ivy was actually top of his class in school. Like he was going to just the typical academies and whatnot, and top of his class. And so he would only join scrims for like 2 hours, after all of his academies were done or whatnot in the very beginning. And then eventually, like after about a year or half a year of that, he was like, "Oh, I think I'm pretty good at this." So he went to convince his parents, and they trusted him enough that they were like, "Fine, we'll let you do it." But then they were like, "We did waste a lot of money sending you to all these academies to make sure that you were top of the class." And he was like, "Yeah, sorry." But he was like really smart in school. He's the only one who, therefore the promise was that he would finish graduating high school. So he's the only one who actually finished high school on the roster. But that was the deal he made with his parents. So that way he could stick with Donby and Francis on a full roster instead of, waiting until afterwards.
That's crazy as well.
So
I mean,
cool.
knowing how parents treat education as well in Korea, just in general. Dude, that's a big ask to be like, "Yo, can I be a pro player, please, when I'm already at the top of one of the most competitive regions for education in the fucking world?" Like, that is actually insane that we almost didn't have that as well as a narrative. Ivy's insane as a player too. Like, genuinely, I really do wish them all the best, man. This team is... They are insane. I love that they just took charge of their own style and own take on it. As much as we've been talking about the double duelists, and I hate this narrative that keeps circling as well around their success about people like Neon's too strong. Motherfucker, nobody was saying this before like they started winning all these games in the tournament. You wouldn't even know Dambi's name, bro. Put respect on his fucking name. You didn't know this shit. You're looking at a different side of the problem. Like, why the fuck are you looking at Neon? Look at the shotguns. Change the shotguns around, man. Like, you won't be saying this shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. This narrative. Like, I've seen too many people in my chat coming in when I was coaching. I'm like, "Oh, Neon's a real problem." Fuck off. When the fuck has Neon been a problem, man? Where have you been?
No, Donby's a problem. Is
Like,
the issue.
dude, it's...
He's just
You
too
should
fucking
be
good at
rewarded
Agent.
if you put that many hours into an agent and you're fucking on people on a stage like that, you should be rewarded for it. That should be something we celebrate, not immediately look at and be like, we must nerf this. This is too powerful. My favorite team's lost. Fuck off. Like, fuck off.
True.
No?
True. No, true.
No, I'm totally with
100%.
you. The same happened for Brock and the Odin. It's like, well, no one else
Yeah.
fucking does it with the Odin like he does, do they?
No.
So fuck off. He's put the time into doing it.
Yeah.
You
The
when
one
everyone
guy-
starts to get good at it, then yeah, sure, we can nerf it. But
the one
not
guy
when-
on the Riot Balance team whose job is to just watch VCT and be like, well, this is the problem in this event. It's time to get rid of it. Sorry, Brock, we have to update all the maps. Well, Dombey, unfortunately, we're removing the fuel. We're turning her into the average American level of physical fitness. She can only run for 10 seconds. And we're removing the slide.
Yeah. But I do think I said this at the start. This is the second most dominant. Like if you consider Pacific and the tournament, obviously they only lost one map at the tournament. They only lost 4 maps in their entire run to winning this tournament so far this year. Like I would say only Fnatic, considering they won lock-in, then they won a bunch of 2-0s. They barely dropped a map in EMEA, although EMEA was completely shit at the time, it must be said. They did lose the grand final against Team Liquid, but then they did win Tokyo by only losing 1 map as well. Like, apart from that run, which I think many people would consider the best team of all time, like, this is the literal next best run a team has ever had, in my opinion. Which is, like, kind of crazy, and obviously you could go further back if you want to with how, kind of Ascension and all that, but, like, that is kind of crazy that they have gotten to this point, and I do think that, like, the grand final as well, I think completely fucking shuts down that, like, oh, they're just a, like, neon one trick. Because, like, there was some moments of Danby popping off there, but Danby's, like, he's not the highest fragger on that grand final. He's not even fucking close. The whole fucking team is destroying, like, the greatest, aimer team of all time, and every single player on Nongshim is fucking sitting them down. Like, they're playing Team Plat chat.
Actually.
Yeah, it kind of felt that way.
yeah.
I think a lot of people, I mean, for one, I don't even expect the casual viewer base to notice all this during the matches, but obviously things like how much is Xross setting up Dombey, right? Like so many of highlights,
Dude,
you
Xross
actually
is
look at it,
unbelievable.
it's his util and then the trades afterwards, right? I mean,
So
dude, this okay.
We'll ignore that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
We'll ignore
But
that.
Xross goes 60 and 28 in the finals. He is the top
He said,
fragger. He
someone
actually-
pointed out in my chat, he's the first grand final merchant because he turned up massively in the kickoff final as well. He just fucking
He
randomly
also
goes
played quite well in the
insane.
He had a good-
Yep. He has the best BO5 performances, but it also gets better each BO5. It's like insane. He just keeps leveling up in grand finals, and he just keeps getting better.
He was still insane
but-
as well during the tournaments. Like this entire Santiago.
I mean, this
Yeah, he
one
was really good.
This one for sure. Like his util setup was so good, and then Ivy kind of taking it on himself to with the team to play the Cypher and create all this pressure on the Abyss. That's like the one thing that just greatly fixed their Abyss. Obviously, Francis, I tweeted about it, but he had his wrist was acting up a little bit in the beginning, but they found him, some of his meds and his support, and then he was able to get right back on track. I mean, RB obviously, you could go through the list, but. That's all the game stuff that's way more than Dombey, right? The whole joke of you anti-Dombey, now you got to deal with whoever else is there. But on top of that, I think something that I kept trying to remind people is that yes, it's their first time at a Masters at a VCT International, but they've had to play away from home ground in 2 BO5s with their careers on the line. Like the players and the coaching staff talk about this. And RB says he's always mentioned that he thinks Ascension is actually the biggest tournament of death because you lose and you're done, right? Your career is just kind of over for the next year. And so having to handle that pressure, he was like, oh, this is like something totally different. And then the first time they had to play as SPG in Jakarta, where Boom was playing, I'm glad she found that.
She's
very
not laughing at you.
humorous.
She's laughing.
She fucking loves people
actually
losing their jobs in Ascension.
She's not laughing at you. She's trolling people in Deadlock Street Brawl right now. She's actually just like. She's the littlest guy. She's like trolling people right now.
The Sin Prisa final though was like the closest Ascension final ever. It was 17-15, comes down to like a half second to fuse.
Yeah, I mean, it was so close, but if you think back to that, it was in Jakarta with Boom Esports, right? So it was that entire stadium with drums and the main broadcast basically being completely biased towards them, which I thought was fine for the record. I thought, own it up, like it's in your hometown. And so what still kind of told me, because I warned him about the crowd being loud in Santiago, and he got there and he was like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it'd be, because Jakarta was so bad that every time any of the SPG guys died, because Boom would be getting a kill, the crowd was so loud they just couldn't calm for like the next 5 to 10
That's fucking
seconds.
insane.
They
That's
just couldn't
wild.
hear each other. And so he's like, we had the
Insanity.
whole world against us in that tournament. And so this is like, we can just kind of ride it even if they're not for us right from the beginning. So these guys
Still
were
funny
like,
about that final. It didn't matter, that final, by the way, as it turned out. They didn't know at the time,
Yes,
but it did actually ultimately didn't matter.
also true.
It was the
But-
greatest seating match of all time, though.
Yeah.
That was
The Francis story though was crazy to me, especially after the first or the second playoff match they played against G2, where they got crushed on that abyss. That's when I was pretty worried about Nongshim after losing that game, because I felt like a lot of the stuff that they normally were doing quite well, like the defensive aggression and stuff, every time they were getting punished with like slight issues.
Mimi
in
was
their
quite
spacing.
worried
G2
about
had a
the
great
one
thing.
map that they lost in this tournament.
Yes, no, because it was the one map that they lost. And Francis looked so shaky that game, and he like when you
locked
saw on
in
camera him
afterwards,
walking off stage, he looked like visibly like sad and shaken. He walked back on stage. It looked like before the rest of the team as well. I was like,
Yep.
this is a really rough time. Like he just took that loss so hard, and then he turns around on Corrode and plays super well on Split of that series as well, and then the rest of the tournament this guy is just showing up and looking fucking ridiculous. The NRG series in particular, Dompy got kind of shut down that game. This was not a particularly, this was the one series I felt like Dompy was not like the highest impact player for them to this point. But Francis, his op on bind defense was absolutely incredible.
Insanely good.
Like
Oh
that
my god.
single-handedly cooked the way NRG wanted to play that map. His opping on defense. The rounds he's like going through the teleporter, getting insta kills onto Mata, and then TPing back like these guys are like absolute horrible bums. It was so impressive.
I know exactly the moment you're referring to, and after when he got that kill, I was like, oh my god, they're not scared.
Yes.
Oh my god, they're not playing with like, normally you play against an opponent that you've seen on the international stage. You're like, oh my god, there's these big scary demons. Like, how the hell can we beat them? Oh,
This
wait,
round. Oh, Kurt's
they're
the goat
treating
for
them like
finding it immediately.
actually treating them like they're playing against some ranked opponents right now. Like this part, dude. As soon as he got a kill, I was like, yeah, okay, they are locked in. They are not feeling the pressure at all. Throughout the entire tournament, they didn't show. I think that is so impressive as well for such a team. Even though you have RB in this squad, who's been at many international events and has that experience. Like a lot of these players are still young, and yet they were very much unfazed on the stage.
Everyone
That
on
is
the team but
insanely
RB
impressive.
is 19 or younger.
Yeah,
which is
that's crazy
fucking
impressive.
crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. I also think that this round is a good example of the little details from the coaching staff as well, because I think particularly early on for a season, like obviously Nongshim have their like big vision of how they want to play, and obviously they know they all suit those roles and they know what they're doing. But I think like little details like that, where NRG in their previous game against Paper Rex was sending Mata towards Shower on his own all the time. We start this round with like crucial bonus round. Let's buy an op round 3. You go through the TP and kill him instantly. Like there was so many. There's like a lot of those little moments as well, right? Those little details that are all coming together for this team. It's I think again, people are just like this to a lot of people will have just completely come out of nowhere. But I think if you did watch the Pacific kickoff, you'll know like this team had a style and it works perfectly for what's going on right now. I mean, they are the perfect embodiment of like what the meta is now. And I think Paper Rex in the grand final struggled perhaps a little bit with like being the team that was having the pace put on them.
But by the way, that was the same round we showed earlier where he got the TP pick out from it. It was so crazy.
Yeah. But I think Paper Rex struggled with like Nongshim were relentless. And actually there's another good setup, Kurt, on split round 3 where they have like the judge and then the bulldog like behind it. and the judge gets a kill, but then Paper Rex trade Danby, but then Ivy just goes fucking crazy, and he gets a kill, swings out, massive balls, kills Jing as well, an unexpected timing, runs forward through his own snake bite, picks up a judge, kills Forsaken who's TP'd, and then gets a 4K. I mean, like, it's a good setup to start off with. This is what I mean, right? They have like these little detailed setups that punish people, and it gets value for them. But now Ivy just goes fucking crazy. Look, he just swings out on Jing.
Yeah,
this is insane.
Oh.
This is fucking
the round
insane.
I watched, and I was like, oh, this final might be cooked. when I saw this moment of him just doing tricks on paper, because this is also, I think, such a good, outside of just like the crazy individual shit, this is such a good read, because Paper Rex is their favorite way of approaching this map with this comp. And what I think they cooked teams on was how they pressure a ramp. They have tons of util to fast dive for it. And they'll show rounds where they're like TPing Forsaken into his teammate's molly towards heaven to have pinches, or they'll be sending a player up mid to pinch. They have like 18 different ways they want to take a heaven, and they end up with that space almost every time, and then freeze, kill the rotators, and then finally take that A side. And it was destroying everyone this event. And Nongshim's just like, okay, whatever, man. We're just gonna fight A main every round. Fuck you. Like you can't even get close. We're gonna kill you before you can even get in. And that was a consistent thread throughout this series, where they were playing close up, the same stuff we're talking about, like how the hell do you shut down zombie? Well, you buy shotguns, you play close to smoke, you don't let them exit. They were doing all of that same stuff back to Paper Rex on their defensive sides of fighting up, never letting Paper Rex actually get a clean execute. And that to me shows really great coaching and prep of just like at a basic level how to debilitate your opponent's ability to play their game plan.
Yeah. I definitely want to give a shout out to the coaching staff, because while I was there with them, since I got to spend more time with them closely now, like, I'll be honest, just piece by piece, whether it's individual players or even individual coaches, like, there were times where I'm just like, oh, like, I want to have a longer discussion with them about this, because I want to give them this feedback, because individually I think you need a little bit more growth to make it to the finals or win this tournament. But then, you know, I don't want to mess with the system, and then they get to the next match and they fixed it, but not like in the way I would have imagined, but in their own way. And then this just keeps happening from match to match, and I'm like, okay, so these guys, and like sometimes they're having arguments, obviously, as every team does, but for whatever reason, they're able to always make sure the sum is greater than their parts. And a big part of that, I think, is the coaching staff and the addition of Yeoman with Seungmin. So Seungmin, for those who don't know, has actually been coaching for like 4 years, and he's only 21. So he's been coaching many different players. But now he comes in, you know, he's been with Nongshim since last year. And then they add Yeoman, who's an ex-player. And while, yes, obviously he has an eye for the game and he'll kind of butt heads with the rest of the coaching staff about that, one of the biggest things is they brought him in so that he could also kind of be that mental coach, right, from a player POV. So he's always looking out, you know, at the players, like even during scrims and stuff, of just like, okay, who's feeling what, you know, where are we going with this, so he can make sure he bridges that gap. And we see it come to fruition, right? Like Francis has that bad game, and then he comes back and he just smashes him the next games and then the next match. So just the whole combination of Silkan and Seungmin and Yeoman, I think they've figured out kind of the synergy for themselves to make it work.
You spent the whole event with this team. I think it can be a little hard for us as like English speaking viewers who are also not, you know, able to watch the Korean feed to like really get an idea, especially because their run was so short with how dominant they were, at least internationally, of like what the personalities and what the inside of this team is actually like. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what is it that, obviously we know a lot about what makes their gameplay unique and their story unique. What about the actual like players and the dynamics of this team is unique to you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for a better picture, you can definitely stay tuned for the official documentary coming out on the Nongshim RedForce VALORANT YouTube channel. That does have subtitles. You can watch that. Yeah. They should be making one. They've made one for Ascension as well, and they were filming for longer stuff. But
Bren
in
doesn't
general,
need the subtitles. He's good.
Yeah, he's
I
good.
definitely
he's
need the
good.
subtitles. I'll tell you that right now, definitely do.
But I think the biggest thing is I think they've learned to become very vocal, and I think I talked with Wendler about this, about how important it is to have a core that's 3 or more. Like a duo is not enough, because when you have 3 or more and they've built a culture and they become so comfortable with each other, that becomes the team, right? So Donby, Francis, and Ivy being the same age, so you don't have the whole hierarchy stuff in Korea, and playing together for like 4 years, they have no fear in just talking, you know, direct facts to each other. And this is during scrims and then afterwards too. Like, you'll see visibly like one of them is upset about something, right, that happened either in the match or something, and then we're talking about like what to eat for dinner, And Ivy will just like press their buttons anyway because they're like, whatever, we're best friends. Like, I don't give a damn that you're feeling bad. Like, I don't care if you're depressed about how you performed. Like, I'm just gonna give you shit about your dinner menu. And so like, but that's just the vibe that they have of like they know their limits with each other, and so that bleeds over to RB and X-Ross being the older and the younger. And I think RB's addition was huge too. Like RB, I know Francis tweeted about this, or he put it up on Instagram after he got back last night, about how much help RB was as someone who basically was kind of his own mentor, both just as a player and now RB being the new IGL, like helping Francis guide through, the pressure and kind of adjusting to the team as well. So RB, being that mentor. And then X-Ross, for those who don't know, X-Ross is, dude, this kid's just a grinder. He's literally, I only saw him like twice outside of the stage because he was just staying in the practice room to just grind more. Like I walked into one of the scrims, and in the middle of the scrim, like the coaches are talking to someone about what to adjust for the next round, and he just goes, I can't wait till we're done with scrim so I can grind more ranked. Like literally. And Domby's like, crazy. What? And he's like, you do want to scrim though, right? And he's like, oh no, yeah, the scrim's fine, but like I just want to play more ranked. And then scrim's over. He doesn't even do anything. He just sits there. He just immediately jumps back into ranked. And everyone else is like, "What should we eat for dinner? Like, what should we do?" And he's just grinding away. We're like, "X-Ross, you want to go out for dinner?" He's like, "Nope." He's like, "I'll order some room service." And he just keeps grinding.
I mean, that's how you build a mental, everyone. Yeah. If you can get to that level of mental.
And then he just goes to sleep. Like I literally only talked to him twice outside of the stage, and the first time I was like, I just gave him a lot of crap for it. I was like, "So what brought you outside today?" And he's like, "Well, I thought we were gonna go eat barbecue, so I just."
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah, so he's the grinder. The three are best friends, and then RB's obviously kind of the mentor captain. But I think that dynamic helps so much, and then the coaching staff obviously kind of hold on to the hierarchy. But even there, I think Still kind of talked to me about this a little bit as well, where he says he's learned that now with Valorant as a new game and like the newer generation of pro gamers, that it is much more important to kind of let them do their thing instead of being like, this is how you should play, right? This is the playbook. You follow it or you lose. Like he was like, I've come to just be a little more loose with them, just guide them a little bit and then let them do their thing because that's how they get more confidence. So that was another big thing.
Yeah. I want to wrap up talking about Nongshim by talking about RB a little bit and his narrative, because I think that was one of the coolest parts of this final outside of the obvious premiere to winning a Masters. Of you went to 8 international events in like the first 3 years of the game, never got higher than third place the one time at Champs Istanbul, and I think got kind of shit on a lot for his performances as Neon back with DRX and being kind of inconsistent. Then he has to go down play in China because he didn't even get an opportunity in Korea to play. To come back and lead this team is just such a crazy impressive journey and such a cool narrative to come all the way through to get to be that mentor for all these really young players and actually find success with it.
Yeah, it makes Mako's story tragic though.
Well, it's not. Listen, he's next up, man. I won't say it's tragic. He's next up.
Think about the storyline we've just built up.
But, you know,
yeah, he's actually the biggest ending. We're just building up to Mako's trophy. Yeah, it's just the build up. TMV, smile. He's smiling. He's got to smile.
Gotta be positive about it. Yeah.
Is he the only player now that was like the DRX squad that doesn't have a trophy?
Well, the only active player,
Sure,
Zest and King,
Zest, obviously, and King.
I mean, and then Bane was never on the actual starting roster back then.
I mean, I don't count him as like the core of that team.
So
he's next up.
Mako's the only one. But I also just want to say I was actually surprised at RB's, I guess, maturity. Like he was still kind of giving, props and shout outs to everyone that he's played with before, right? And just kind of recognizing that was part of the
final interview.
That was part of his growth. Yeah. Like I think that showed how much he really grew, I think, as a player. So props to him.
Can I ask you a question, Chobra? When did you like feel like, oh, we've actually done this? Like, holy shit, Nongshim have won. We're gonna win this tournament.
So prediction-wise, I was pretty confident that if we beat G2 in the playoffs, that we could win. The actual feeling of we've done it was like, actually, I kind of agree with Mimi. Like after that third round on Split, I was actually watching that with Tens, and like literally Ivy just walks up, gets the kill, and Tens is like, oh, he's actually just mental. He's just crazy. He's just insane. He just doesn't think. That's crazy behavior. And he just loses it. And I was like, yep. And also this is the type of energy that they had when they were stomping through challengers, right? I was just like, oh, we just don't lose. And so I think that's when I felt it, because Corrode was pretty close, and that's what I expected the whole finals to be, really. But yeah, I mean, also the double map ban made it, obviously much more straightforward, as it usually does. So,
yeah. Quick last thing then. Obviously, Domby won the MVP award, which I was really happy to see that he won it. Riot this time. For those that don't know, the MVP, I don't know if they publish the actual specifics of what it is, but the MVP award is they vote it internally with broadcast talent. I think journalists, maybe some team I don't know the exact thing. But in the past, the guidance they would always give us was that it's a grand finals MVP. And I think that's how you got the number. I think all MVPs, you could argue, were the number one performer of the finals. Brock at Champs. You look back to even in Masters Bangkok with Izu not getting it as well, even though he was probably the best player of that tournament. Here, despite Exros being the best player of the final, it was Domby who won it, and I think that's a really great change, and I'm really happy that it was who, in my opinion, I think was.
Wait, they changed it to the MVP of the whole event?
Correct.
Oh,
the MVP of the
event. Was that official? Because
that was the guidance I got for my voting.
Okay, all right. I didn't get any guidance in my voting, so I just assumed it was grand finals. But okay.
I think that's
would
good.
like to
Shout out
give
to Domby.
Exros something, though.
Yeah.
Possibly more prestigious than the actual MVP bracelet.
What would you like? There is some.
There is an
we could
award
give
that
him.
we have.
There's some award that we have
There's some
power
award.
over, and it might be a setup for what some would call the most important segment of this show. That's why it's weekly award.
Damn, I love video games.
Kurt wasn't
Actual
ready for that.
Paper Rex POV on map 2 and 3 there.
There's a lot of good things we could give Wyatt's weekly award to for this one. We could give it to RB for completing his narrative. It was cool. That'd be honorable. You could give it to Chobra for completing his narrative of finally supporting the team and not
Dobra will never
cursing
be
them.
seen again, by the way.
Yes,
actually.
we could. We could give it to the Chilean fans for cheering like crazy and being exceptionally, unbelievably passionate, despite there not being a single Latin player at the event, nor a Latin American team there, and having a 3-0 fastest final in Valorant history, and still making it feel as exciting as it was. Or we could give it to Exros, who was the best player of the final. And I think it only feels right to give it to a player. I think you're right, Bren, that makes the most sense. So let's say it. This week, Exros, you're the winner of the Wyatt's Weekly Award. Another amazing final from you. He was excellent in Ascension final, Pacific final, the Grand Final merchant. He was fucking cooking.
Yep, it's no diamond bracelet, but it will have to do.
Oh, it's better.
It's a Westlake Youth
better,
Soccer
yeah.
2012 trophy, though.
Even better.
It is. It is.
Wait, now that you mentioned the bracelet, can I tell you guys a real quick funny story about the MVP bracelet? So Domby gets it. He has it on his wrist. We get to the hotel, and he wants to shower before we get to the airport. And apparently, he couldn't figure out how to take it off. So what does he do? He contacts the only person he knows that will 100% know how to take this off. The 2-time Masters MVP Meteor. And he DMs. He DMs him and he goes, so how do you take this thing off?
That's so fucking funny.
So smart.
Oh, that's really funny.
So Meteor helped him out. And then he figured it out afterwards.
That's really
There are moments where you just where it's like, wow, these players are so impressive for how young they are. And then you remember that they're like,
it's like, these players are really
19.
young. Yeah.
That's
a very
they don't know how to take off
19-year-old
a
thing.
fucking bracelet. That is amazing. Well, I think that wraps it up for episode 256. Congratulations to Nongshim for their win in Masters Santiago. We'll be back next week. I think, how long is it until the first region starts back up?
2
It's like
weeks, I
2
think.
weeks from now,
The
I
end-
think,
yeah.
when
Yeah.
EMEA and
Start
Pacific
of
get going.
April.
China's the
2 weeks.
first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
think.
So we'll be back. We'll have a little in-between episode, and then after that, it'll be getting back into the swing with international leagues. Chobra, TMV, Bren, thank you all. Chobra, I will give you this moment to end
Say
the
whatever you want.
episode. Say
Mhm.
whatever you want, and then we'll put it to a close.
Shout out to the players' parents for coming out with banners and flowers for everyone, including staff, at the airport to greet us when we landed.
That's cute. I like that.
That's
Those are my
very
final
cute.
words.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Big moment for Nongshim RedForce. Remember to be a member and get involved. Maybe you could have the next member question or join the tournament that they're organizing soon. Time's ticking on that one. So do so. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye bye.